Chapter 50-37. Even if the wall was not convinced, she would still be convinced. He Xinzhou sat on the giant rabbit and began to curse at the Guai Chao and her dantian. Go away, Ba, I didn't realize that you were so cunning. You want to kill me, you ungrateful grass. I thought you had changed, but you are still the same. Just you wait, I won't forgive you. Guai Chao formed its leaves into the shape of a heart and kept begging for mercy. If it was not for the fact that its roots could not move, it would have knelt down and begged for mercy. In all conscience, it just wanted to pose like a badass. Who would have thought that it would send this wretched girl flying? If it had known this would happen, it would not have been so smug. He Xinzhou cursed fiercely again before temporarily letting go of Guai Chao. Of course, she also knew that Guai Chao must have done it unintentionally. After all, no matter how stupid it would not do such a stupid thing. However, Go Wei Ba tail was getting more and more floaty. She had to teach it a lesson. He Xinzhou did not know that there was a mini Go Wei Ba Cao lying on her hair at this moment. It was waving its small leaves arrogantly. It was simply happy. Last time, Guai Chao had saved up a small amount of money and wanted to take a stroll outside. However, in order to break Di Baiming's white seal, it had used up all its spiritual power. Now that this guy had saved up a lot of money, he naturally would not let go of this good opportunity. Therefore, after Yun Chuzhou withdrew her spiritual power, this guy pretended to disappear, but in fact, he became very small and hid in He Xinjia's hair. He Xinzhou knew nothing about this. She quickly found Lan Luofang and the others on the giant rabbit. Although Lan Luofang and the others were far away, they could still vaguely hear the loud noise. They could not help but worry for Yun Chuzhou. Even Lan Luoyen was a little worried. It was not that she had changed her opinion of Yun Chuzhou, but she now saw He Xinzhou as a life-saving straw, so she naturally did not want anything to happen to her. When everyone saw He Xinzhou coming over on a rabbit, they could not help but heave a sigh of relief. However, when they saw this guy's strange mount, their faces froze. What the hell was this thing? A rabbit? There did not seem to be such a large demonic rabbit species in the Chongshao continent, right? Little Jiu, where are the wild beasts? Lan Luofang asked. They were all beaten away by this captain. Let's go, they won't dare to come back for a while. Yun Chuzhou said smugly. The others didn't say anything and immediately followed Yun Chuzhou to the floating layer. Yun Chuzhou saw that all of them were exhausted and asked, "Don't you have any spirit beasts to carry you?" Lan Luofang and the others all shook their heads. The cultivators of the heavy cloud continent paid attention to their own cultivation and rarely relied on external things, so most people didn't have any spirit pets. Yun Chuzhou curled her lips. You guys are really poor. How about this, I can rent out spiritual beasts to you for 10,000 high-grade spirit stones a day. Are you guys going to rent them out? Everyone, they were all convinced by how greedy they were. If even the wall was not convinced, they would be convinced by her. However, they were all so tired that they were about to smoke. Not to mention 10,000 high-grade spirit stones, even 100,000 was something they were willing to give up. Thus, they all agreed. Yun Chuzhou immediately got Mao Qiu to pick 7 relatively fast and large snowstorm-back wolves from the Great Void Mystic Realm. After the contract was signed, she handed them over to Lan Luofang and the others. Although the grade of the snowstorm-back wolves was not high, it was not a problem to use them as a means of transportation. Lan Luofang and the others did not have the time to nitpick that the grade of the spirit beasts was too low. One by one, they climbed onto the back of the wolves and began to meditate. Chapter 50-38. Are you in love with me? With their spiritual pets, Lan Luofang and the others could rest and not delay their journey. They could not help but feel a little emotional. It seemed that the old ancestor had a reason to let Yun Chuzhou, the troublemaker, be the team leader. Yun Chuzhou had passed out from being drunk for a few days, so she was not sleepy at all. She hummed a little song and led the way. Seeing that Lan Luofang and the others were already asleep, she took out the small silver snake from her sleeve pocket. Seeing that the small silver snake had not woken up yet, she poked his head with her hand and muttered, "You pervert. I'll teach you a lesson when you wake up." At this moment, the small silver snake's vertical pupils opened. Its cold and fierce gaze almost scared Hei Shinjo so much that she fell off the rabbit. The snake pretended to be calm and said, "Why are you staring at me? Tell me, did you take advantage of me after I passed out?" A certain lord was amused when he heard that. "Ugly girl, don't you know what you have done? If you don't have a good taste in alcohol, don't drink like others. You are not allowed to touch a single drop of alcohol in the future." Yun Chujo blinked her eyes. What did she do? She didn't do anything. Humph. Stop calling me a thief. Let me ask you, why is your nose bleeding again? Did you take advantage of me when I was drunk? A certain someone was so angry that he was about to explode. Take advantage of her? He was the one who was almost raped, okay? A certain someone wanted to tell her the good deed that Hei Shinjo did when she was drunk, but it was a little hard to say. Finally, he squeezed out a sentence from between his teeth. What about the matter of you throwing me into the wine jar? Hei Shinjo was stunned at first, then she burst into laughter and almost fell off the giant rabbit's back. This guy's laughter woke Lan Luofang and the others up. Lan Luofang asked in confusion, "Little Joe, why are you laughing? What happened?" Yun Chujo finally stopped laughing and said, it's nothing. I just remembered something interesting. You guys go back to sleep and rest up. We still have a tough battle to fight." Lan Luoyen mumbled, "Crazy," and went back to sleep. The others also shook their heads helplessly and fell asleep one after another. "You mean that I almost turned you into a snake in the snake wine? Ha, this joke is enough for me to laugh at for the rest of my life." A certain being, Hei Shinjo, chuckled a few times in a low voice before she was stunned. "That's not right. Then why is your nose bleeding?" A certain being's body stiffened slightly before he replied coldly, "I knocked it in the wine jar." Hei Shinjo did not know that a certain being had actually learned how to open his eyes and lie. It was rare for this fellow to feel a little pain in his conscience. He used his hand to gently stroke the small silver snake's head. "I'm sorry. I promise I won't drink anymore. Actually, it's not my fault this time. Who knew that just the smell of alcohol could make people drunk?" Seeing that he had been fooled, a certain venerable heaved a sigh of relief and quickly changed the topic. "It's good that you know. What do you plan to do next?" "No matter what, we have to enter the levitation layer first. Otherwise, we won't be able to find the enchantment and will be trapped here," said Yun Chujo. "The levitation layer should be more dangerous. You have to be more careful," D. Biming instructed. Are you concerned about me? Are you attracted by my beauty and wisdom? So you fell in love with me?" Hei Shinjo said slyly. Chapter 5039, Do you have a way to get up there? The small silver snake's body suddenly turned pink and snorted coldly, "Don't flatter yourself. I was just afraid that you would implicate me if something happened to you." "Oh, so that's how it is. It seems that I was thinking too much." "That's right. I'm just a poor little girl who no one loves. I'm used to it," Hei Shinjo said in a desolate manner. A certain someone noticed Yun Chuji's depressed mood and his heart tightened. He quickly added, You don't have to say that. Actually, you're not that bad. You're still passable. Yun Chujo, you're the one who's passable. Your whole family is passable." Although she was complaining in her heart, she looked like she was about to cry and did not say anything. A certain amnesia snake naturally did not know what this fellow was up to and thought that she had really been hit by his words. He could not help but feel annoyed and anxious. "Venerable one, I was just teasing you. Actually, you are very good looking, very smart, very good," a certain one stammered. Yun Chujo shook her head and said with a sobbing voice, "You are lying to me. You said that I was overthinking things. Obviously, you think that I am not worthy of you. I didn't mean that. A certain someone was about to continue to explain, but he saw a flash of cunningness in Yunchuji's eyes. He immediately understood that he had been fooled again. He was so angry that he didn't say anything. Seeing that he had been exposed, Blackheart Geo didn't feel embarrassed at all. He said with a smile, "Then what do you mean? Do you think I'm very cute? Do you not want to marry me? Do you think that all the women in the world are not as good-looking as me?" A certain someone did not even look at her and went back into his sleeve pocket. He was obviously angry. Yunchujo pursed her lips. "You are at Sundra. I can't control you anymore. If you want to be angry, then be angry. Anyway, you will be angry sooner or later." A certain someone thought that Yunchujo would apologize and coax him with soft words. He did not expect Hei Shinjo to ignore him as if nothing had happened. A certain someone was so angry. However, he could not bring himself to go out again, so he could only cultivate in his sleeve pocket. He thought to himself that he would deal with this sinister and cunning ugly girl after he recovered his strength. Yunchujo saw that the levitating layer that reached into the clouds was actually suspended in the air. She could not help but click her tongue in wonder. How did this happen? Wasn't this the legendary pavilion in the air? Moreover, these floating layers were not just 18-story pavilions. The area above was very large, and each floor was comparable to an imperial city. Yunchujo shouted to the top, "Hey, is there anyone breathing up there?" No one spoke up, but that was also true. Mu Zian and the others should have already entered the floating layer. Perhaps they had already reached the second floor. Everyone looked at the levitation layer and sighed. The rope ladder had already been put away, and it was suspended in the air below. They had no way to climb up, and it was forbidden to fly here. There was no way for them to go up. Lan Luoyen thought of Lan Luoshan putting away the rope ladder and could not help but curse. Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan, those two bastards really deserve to die. Not only did they secretly attack us, they even put away the rope ladder. They really want us to die. Lan Luoji and the others were also cursing, wishing they could tear Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan into pieces. Lan Luofang approached Yunchujo and asked, "Little Jiu, do you have a way to go up?" Chapter 50-40, the first level of the levitation layer. Yunchujo heard Lan Luofang's question and giggled. "How difficult is that?" Lan Luoyen pouted. "Anyone can talk big. What can you do? Can you grow wings and fly up?" Yunchujo glanced at her. "Although I can't grow wings and fly up, I have ropes." Yunchujo took out a bundle of rope as she spoke. This storage ring had everything in it. Naturally, she would prepare the necessary things like ropes. The mocking expression on Lan Luoyen's face became even more intense. "What's the use of having a rope? Let's not talk about whether you can throw the rope so high. Even if you can throw it up, there's nothing on it that can fix the rope. Isn't it still useless?" Although Lan Luofang was dissatisfied with Lan Luoyen's attitude, she felt that what she said made sense. There was a rope in their storage rings, but the levitation layer was at least 30 meters above the ground. There was no way to fix the rope. Could it work? Yunchujo did not say anything. She just smiled and took out the rolling pin. She tied the rope to one end of the rolling pin and stuck the rolling pin into the ground. As the Lan family members inhaled, the rolling pin grew taller and taller. It was even taller than the first layer of the levitation layer. Lan Luofang asked weakly, "Little Jiu, this pin is so thin. Can it bear our weight?" Yunchujo shook her head. The longer the pin was, the weaker its power. It could not bear the weight of an adult. Lan Luofang saw that Yunchujo shook her head and denied it. She asked, "Then what do you plan to do?" "I'll let one of my helpers go up first and then pull us up," Yunchujo said. Everyone looked at each other. Helper? What helper? Just as everyone was puzzled, they saw that Yunchujo released a Xiaohei rat. It seemed to be of an unusually low rank. She couldn't be thinking of letting this little thing pull them up, right? What kind of joke was this? They could kill this weak little thing with one finger. Yun Shujo ignored their gazes and gave a few instructions to the Xiaohei rat. Then, the Xiaohei rat climbed up along the rolling pin. Xiaohei rat climbed to the top of the rolling pin. Seeing that there was nothing unusual inside, it reported the news to Yun Shujo. Yun Shujo then leaned the rolling pin against the levitating layer. Xiaohei rat untied the rope and jumped onto the levitating layer. Yun Shujo immediately grabbed one end of the rope and motioned Xiaohei to pull her up. Lan Luoyan could not hold it in anymore. Yun Shujo, are you crazy? How can that little thing be pulled up? Everyone's faces were filled with shock. Oh my god, that little thing actually had such great strength? This was too unbelievable. After Yun Shujo was pulled up, the Xiaohei rat also pulled the others up to the floating layer. While everyone was shocked, they started to look at their surroundings. They were in a small square. The green stone slabs on the ground were exactly the same as the ones on the streets, but the patterns were more complicated and exquisite. Yun Shujo put away Xiaohei and the dough stick and said, "Let's go in and take a look." Everyone knew what to do and did not ask about Xiaohei and the dough stick. They were more afraid of Yun Shujo. After leaving the square, everyone realized that the floating floor was no different from the streets. The only difference was that the pavilions on the side of the road were more intact and more exquisite. Chapter 50 41-inch iron rooster becomes a spirit. Yun Shujo thought to herself that the celestials living in this floating floor were probably of a higher level than the celestials living in the lower levels. Moreover, the higher the level, the higher the level. This was also normal. There were different levels in every place. Even the celestials were not exempt from it. As the buildings here were more well preserved, the plaques on the buildings were basically still there. However, they were all written in ancient characters. Hei Shinjo only knew a little of the ancient characters, but Buttface did. So, Buttface eagerly explained to Yun Shujo. "Little fairy, the plaque on the left says Cloud Weaving Manor, and the plaque on the right says Rouge House. Most of them are satin houses, and one sells rouge powder." Out of curiosity, Yun Shujo entered the Cloud Weaving Manor on the left. It was empty, and she didn't know if it had been destroyed or if it had been taken away by someone from the previous trial. The Rouge building on the right was in the same situation. There was only an empty room left. Yun Shujo entered a few more pavilions, and it was the same situation. "It seems that the barrier to teleport out isn't on the first level," said Lan Luomu. Yun Shujo raised her eyebrows. "How do you know?" Lan Luomu took out something that looked like an arrayed disc and said, "My grandfather gave this to me. It can sense teleportation barriers. My grandfather got this when he participated in the Divine Relic trial. It can sense a wide range, but there's no reaction at all. This means that the teleportation barrier at the exit isn't on this level." Lan Luomu naturally didn't plan to reveal that he had such a treasure, but now that they were all in the same boat, there was nothing to hide. After all, survival was more important. Yun Shujo was very satisfied with Lan Luomu's ability to adapt to the situation. She chuckled and said, "Since that's the case, then we won't waste time on the first level. Let's go find the entrance to the second level." Everyone easily found the second entrance in the center of the city. It was a flight of stairs that looked no different from ordinary stone steps. However, they found a lot of blood and 4 corpses under the stairs. Among the 4 corpses, 2 of them were wearing the Qi family's clothing. The other 2 were wearing the Zhuang family's clothing, and the other one was wearing the Mu family's clothing. When everyone saw the corpses and the mottled blood stains on the steps, their expressions immediately changed. At this moment, the sky had already darkened. Yun Shujo thought for a moment and decided to let everyone spend the night on the first level of the levitation layer. They would discuss countermeasures after daybreak. Everyone did not have any objections. They found a relatively spacious empty space nearby to rest, but all of them had solemn expressions on their faces. There were so many people from the Mu family, but they had actually lost 4 people on this step. Could they safely pass through this step? Yun Shujo did not treat her stomach unfairly at all times. She slowly began to roast the meat. Everyone from the Lan family was speechless. What kind of situation was this? They actually had the mood to roast meat? However, when the aroma of the roasted meat spread, everyone could not help but swallow their saliva. They had been eating fasting pills for the past few days. Now that they smelled the aroma of the barbecued meat, they naturally had a craving for it. Yun Shujo smiled and said, "Do you want to eat it?" A skewer of barbecued meat costs 100 high-grade spirit stones. You won't be at a loss if you buy it for 100 spirit stones. You won't be fooled. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Everyone from the Lan family was so angry that their noses almost went crooked. This fellow was simply an iron rooster that had turned into a spirit. Even at this time, he still wanted to make money. Chapter 50-42, Do you all hate me? Everyone glared at Yun Shujo. Previously, they had no choice but to pay to rent a spiritual beast. Now, there was no need to give her money for the sake of food. Hence, they turned their heads away and did not say anything. Only Lan Luofeng came over and said, "Little Joe, with our relationship, there's no need to talk about money, right? If we talk about money, it would hurt our relationship." Yun Shujo pouted and stuffed a piece of roasted meat to her. This girl's skin was getting thicker and thicker. She didn't know who she learned it from. Lan Luoyen saw the situation and said fiercely, "Eat, eat, eat. All you know is to eat. If we can't find the strange part of the stairs, we'll be trapped here to death." Yun Shujo said lazily, "What are you worried about? Mu Zian and those idiots can find a way to get up, so naturally, we can too. They sacrificed 4 lives to find a way." Lan Luoyen said angrily. Yun Shujo curled her lips. "We can do that too. You will be the first one to go up tomorrow." "You, how dare you?" Lan Luoyen stood up abruptly. She was both angry and afraid. If Yun Shujo really insisted on doing this, no one would speak up for her. After all, her life was at stake now. Who could control who? There is nothing in this world that I don't dare to do. If you don't want to be the first one to go up, come over and help me roast the meat, Yun Shujo said with a chuckle. Lan Luoyen bit her lips, but she still chickened out. Gritting her teeth, she helped He Xinjiu roast the meat. She cursed in her heart, "Eat, eat, eat, it's better to eat to death. Come, everyone, let's eat together. I was just playing with you. I'm such a generous person, why would I want your money?" He Xinjiu said with a smile. The crowd pursed their lips. "You're generous? Do you believe it?" However, the crowd still gathered around. Whether it was the bright fire or the hot roasted meat, they could relax for a moment. They often participated in some trials, but this was the first time they encountered such a dangerous situation. They could hardly relax for a moment. When they were almost done eating, Yun Shujo asked lazily, "Do you hate me a lot?" "Why?" Everyone's faces stiffened. They had never expected He Xinjiu to ask such a question. On second thought, it seemed that Yun Shujo did not bother them at all. Why did they want to kill her? Lan Luoyen said hatefully, "We are the ones with the surname Lan. You are a foreigner from a lower continent. Why should our ancestors look at you differently? Everyone, you deserve to be hated. You deserve it." Yun Shujo continued, "I know that the Lan family has never rejected internal strife, so all of you want to trample others under your feet. I'm also an outsider, and I've even caught the eye of the old ancestor, so all of you can't wait to leave. This isn't a big deal, I understand." Everyone was dumbfounded. What did this troublemaker mean? It's just that people have to know their limits. You're not my match, so you can't beat me. Moreover, I don't plan to do anything to you. You really don't have to be my enemy. If I wanted you dead, I wouldn't have shown up. I wouldn't have saved you. After all, we all have the blood of the Lan family. There's no one closer to us in this world. Do you think it's fun to fight among ourselves? Chapter 50-43, Do I Owe You a Grudge? Hearing Yun Chujia's words, the members of the Lan family felt a little complicated. Their thoughts were deeply rooted, so they naturally would not change just because of Yun Chujia's words. It was just that in this environment, hearing these words, they inexplicably felt that they had more reliance and trust in the people around them. That's right, compared to the people of the Mu family, these people here at least had the same blood flowing in their bodies. They were family. Lan Luoyen bit her lips. Even if what you said makes sense, aren't Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan also members of the Lan family? They still stabbed us in the back. Yun Chujiu raised her eyebrows. There are all kinds of birds in this forest. There will inevitably be a few scumbags. Don't worry, I will give you the chance to kill them personally. For a moment, no one said anything. Only the crackling sound of firewood could be heard. After a while, Lan Luoyen suddenly started to cry. At first, it was a suppressed cry, but in the end, it turned into a wail. Lan Luofang also started to sob. Although the others did not cry, they were all very depressed. The reason was very simple. They were afraid of death. There were 18 layers of levitation here. It was very likely that the teleportation enchantment would be set up on the 18th layer. Could they find the teleportation enchantment within the stipulated time limit? Lan Luoyen cried for a while and shouted fiercely, Yun Chujiu, tell me, do you think we can leave this place alive? Yun Chujiu revealed an extremely brilliant smile. Of course. I still have a lot of things to do. Naturally, I won't stay in this lousy place. Everyone was stunned by Yun Chujia's smile. For the first time, they realized that this troublemaker was very good-looking. Lan Luoyen snorted coldly. If you can really bring me out safely, I won't go against you in the future. Yun Chujiu curled her lips. You speak as if you can do anything to me. I remember that you're the one who gets beaten up every time, right? Lan Luoyen was so angry that she almost vomited blood. However, after being rebuked by He Xinzhou, she did not feel so sad anymore. Instead, she felt more at ease for some reason. Could it be that she needed to be rebuked? Also, if there's anything you need, just let me know. Lan Luocheng and the others also spoke up. Their meaning was basically the same as Lan Lumis. Yun Chujiu nodded. Don't worry, we will all leave this place alive. After all, the Lan family has never been cowards who leave our fate to fate. When everyone saw Yun Chujiu's determined and confident gaze, they felt a strange emotion rise in their hearts. It was an emotion that could not be described with words. Worship? Trust? Envy? In short, at this moment, they truly recognized Yun Chujiu's identity as the team leader. It was not because of the old ancestors' orders, nor was it because of Elder Tuo's poison. It was simply because she was Yun Chujiu. The little silver snake in his sleeve pocket snorted in his heart. This ugly girl really knew how to bewitch people's hearts. Since she was so eloquent, why didn't she apologize to him? Didn't she know that he was angry? He didn't care about her apology. He just wanted to give her a chance to repent. Yes, that was it. He Xinzhou didn't know what a certain prideful person was thinking. She was very satisfied when she saw the members of the Lan family turn from a pile of loose sand into obedient babies. She arranged for Lan Luoji and Lan Luomu to be on night duty and then lay down on the blanket and fell asleep. After noticing that she had fallen asleep, Gowei Batsao, which was hidden in its hair, hopped onto the ground. It's time for Gowei Ba tale. Chapter 50-44, The delightful Gowei Batsao. Gowei Bakao's body was very small, and its spiritual energy fluctuation was very small. No one had noticed its existence. If Di Biming had not been so severely injured, perhaps he would have noticed it. However, He was very weak at the moment, so he did not notice Goei Bakeo's movement. Goei Batsao jumped on the ground, feeling very good about itself. It liked the feeling of being alone in heaven and on earth. It was simply happy. That wretched girl thought that it was willing to stay shamelessly in her dantian. If it was not for the fact that it was absorbing the power of lightning, did she think that she would care about her? Pooey. Shameless. Guai Chao cursed Yun Chuzhou dozens of times in his heart. He felt that the depression of the past few days had suddenly disappeared. Guai Chao was so bold as to jump around on Lan Luofang and the others' faces, but the people in their dreams did not notice it at all. Guai Chao placed a leaf on his waist and was extremely proud. A bunch of idiots. However, after jumping around for a while, there was nothing new about it. It remembered the steps that led to the second level of the levitation layer that it saw during the day, and decided to take a look. It quickly waved its leaves, and the entire plant flew up. Soon, it arrived at the bottom of the levitation layer's steps. Under the moonlight, both the corpse next to the stairs and the blood stains on the stairs were particularly horrifying. However, Goei Batsao never knew what fear was. It jumped to the top of the first step, but nothing happened. It jumped to the top of the second step, but there was still nothing unusual. When it jumped to the third step, countless spiritual arrows shot out from the bottom of the step. Goei Batsao didn't care about this at all. Its size was very small, and as long as it was careful, those arrows wouldn't be able to hit it. Goei Batsao continued to jump forward. There was nothing unusual on the fourth and fifth steps, but on the sixth step, vines made of spiritual power grew out, and Goei Batsao easily dodged them. Next, Goei Batsao found a pattern. It would be attacked every 2 steps, which were all attacks made of spiritual power. If it was a cultivator, they might be able to easily dodge or defend at the beginning. However, because there were too many steps, it was inevitable that they would be attacked later. Fortunately, Goei Batsao was very light and agile. It jumped with all its strength and jumped to the second levitation layer. Goei Batsao thought to himself, this move is quite vicious. At this point, everyone would feel that victory was within reach, so they would lower their guard and fall to their deaths easily. Thinking of this fellow proudly waved its leaves. So what if it was sinister? Once Goei Batsao appeared, who would contend with it? This fellow felt that it had almost finished investigating. When the sun rose, it would be able to take credit from the smelly girl. Although the language wasn't fluent, that stinky girl was still considered smart. It gestured with its hands, and perhaps she would be able to understand. Thinking of this, Goei Batsao prepared to return the way it came. At this moment, Goei Batsao caught a glimpse of something that seemed to be in the fault of the stairs that had disappeared earlier. Oh my, could it be the formation plate? If it destroyed the formation plate, wouldn't the formation on the stairs be gone? In that case, the stinky girl and the others could come up unimpeded. At that time, even if the stinky girl found out that it had a small treasury, it could still take credit for this matter. Chapter 5045 was probably in trouble again. Goei Batsao felt that it was too smart. Therefore, before the steps recovered, it directly jumped into the fault of the steps. If it was an ordinary person, they would not be able to find the formation plate inside the fault, because this formation plate was different from the formation plate that was popular outside. It was very small. If it was not for the moonlight reflecting a ray of light, and because of Goei Bakeo's small size and low visibility, they would not have been able to find it. Goei Batsao looked at the disc array and proudly shook its leaves. It only needed to dig out the bead in the center of the disc array, and the array would naturally stop. Therefore, Goei Batsao enlarged its body and used its leaves to dig out the bead. However, the bead was fixed quite firmly, and Goei Bakeo's leaves were not very flexible, so it took a long time to dig it out. While Goei Batsao was busy, the missing steps reappeared, and Goei Batsao was unfortunately sealed inside the steps. Goei Batsao was so angry. It could only give up on digging the bead, wanting to shrink its body and jump out. Unfortunately, it discovered that after the steps returned to their original position, the place was sealed by a barrier, and it could not get out. Goei Batsao could not help but feel sorrowful. Was there any grass in this world that was more miserable than it? What did it do wrong to suffer such abuse? In its anger, Goei Bakao's little temper flared up. Fuck, it should just directly destroy this broken formation disk. As long as the formation disk was destroyed, this barrier would naturally cease to exist. It could then get out. Hence, Goei Batsao began to beat the formation disk frantically with its leaves in an attempt to destroy the formation disk. Coincidentally, its leaves struck the weak spot of the formation disk and cracks began to appear on the formation disk. Eventually, it completely shattered and the enchantment disappeared. Goei Batsao was very pleased with itself. Little fellow, you still want to go against Goei Batsao? Damn you. This fellow was just about to shrink its body and jump out of the gap when it realized that the place it was at began to shake violently. Goei Batsao was dumbfounded. What was going on? What happened? Before it could recover its senses, it heard the sound of heavy objects landing on the ground. It immediately had an ominous premonition in its heart. The steps that led from the first level to the second level were no longer there. Instead, there was a pile of ruins on the ground. Goei Batsao could feel that God was malicious towards it. It didn't do anything. Why did it become like this? Goei Batsao suddenly trembled. If the little brat knew that it was done by it, it would probably turn into dried grass. At this moment, the sound of footsteps came from afar. Goei Batsao knew that the loud sound must have woken up Yunchujo and the others. It trembled even more violently and hurriedly hid in the bushes nearby. Very soon, Yunchujo and the others arrived. Everyone stared at the ruins in front of them with their mouths agape. What happened? Why is this staircase suddenly damaged? It was fine during the day, how did it suddenly become like this? Lan Luofang said in fear. Could it be that Mu Zian and the others damaged it? How can we go up without the steps? Lan Luoji said in panic. Lan Luomu frowned, it shouldn't be them. After all, they don't know that we're not dead yet. Besides, they don't need to spend so much effort to destroy the steps. Go Weiba in the grass was scared and proud. No matter how these people guessed, they wouldn't guess that it was Go Weiba who did it. Chapter 50-46, Hercules Yunchujo did not pay attention to the discussions of the crowd. Instead, she began to rummage through the ruins. Everything would leave a trace. Perhaps they could find clues from within. Seeing this, the crowd stopped their discussions and helped Yunchujo rummage through the ruins. Very soon, Lan Luofang pointed at a bead on the ground and said, "Eh? What is this?" Everyone's gaze fell on the bead on Lan Luofang's finger. It was a lustrous and shiny bead, but it was not a false bead. Everyone could feel the rich spiritual energy emitted from it, and it was even denser than supreme-grade spirit stones. Yunchujo walked up and picked up the bead, looked at it, and said, "It looks like something similar to spirit stones, but the spiritual energy contained in it is denser and purer. If I'm not wrong, this bead should have been embedded in the array disk. Let's look for it and see if we can find something similar to the array disk." Goei Batsao in the grass shook its leaves. This stupid girl was really smart to be able to guess it. The group quickly found a few fragments of the array disk in the ruins. Although they looked different from the array disk outside, they could still tell from the ancient runes on it. It seems that the array board exploded for some reason, resulting in the destruction of the steps, Yunchujo guessed. Everyone felt that what she said made sense, but why did the array board suddenly explode? Little Joe, now that the steps are destroyed, how do we go up? Lan Luofang asked worriedly. Yunchujo smiled lightly. This isn't a difficult matter. Previously, we went up to the first floor the same way we went up to the second floor. I was worried that there was something wrong with the stairs, so I didn't dare to use the previous method. Now that the stairs have been destroyed, there's nothing to worry about. After daybreak, well, use the old method to go to the second floor of the levitation layer. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief when they heard that. From the looks of it, it was a good thing that the stairs were destroyed. Guai Chao, who was in the bushes, was stunned for a moment before thinking smugly, HMPH. As it had said, how could Go Weiba, who had such a powerful dog tail, cause trouble? Just look at it, it had unintentionally achieved a miraculous feat. It was simply a piece of cake. Yun Shujo felt the smug mood of the Guai Chao in her dantian. She was puzzled, what was the point of it being smug? Is it crazy? If it was not afraid that Yun Shujo would discover that it had hidden a small treasury, it would definitely jump in front of Hei Shinjo to clear its name. However, it was afraid that Yun Shujo would discover it and it would never be able to go out again, so it did not dare to do anything. Goei Butsao flew to Yun Shujia's hair when Yun Shujo was not paying attention. After daybreak, Yun Shujo asked the rolling pin to send Xiao Hei to the second level of the levitation layer and then pulled everyone up. The second level of the levitation layer did not look much different from the first level. Lan Luomu took out something that looked like a disc array and tried it. Then, he shook his head at Yun Shujo. Seeing this, Yun Shujo knew that there was no teleportation barrier on this level. She didn't feel surprised. She had a vague feeling that the teleportation barrier would be placed on the highest level of the levitation layer. Thus, Yun Shujo led everyone to the stairs leading to the third level. However, after walking for about an hour, everyone's expressions became serious. Chapter 50-47, Woman Yun Shujo and the others found a lot of blood on the ground, and they also found 2 corpses. When they saw the miserable state of the corpses, they could not help but feel a chill run down their spines. There were countless deep scratches on the bodies of the 2 corpses. Their faces had been scratched so much that their original appearances could not be seen. What was even more puzzling was that the 2 corpses were naked on the top, but their bottoms were covered by red gauze. Yun Shujo originally wanted to go up and examine them, but she guessed that the 2 of them were also naked on the bottom. She was afraid that some jealous person would make a scene, so she asked Lan Luomu to go up and examine them. Yun Shujo was afraid that the corpses were poisonous, so she specially brought a gas mask for Lan Luomu and gave him a pair of heavenly silk gloves. Lan Luomu looked at the 2 things. Although he had never seen them before, his mind was sharp, so he immediately guessed the effect. Therefore, after putting them on, he resisted the nausea and examined the corpses. Yun Shujo, Lan Luoyen, and Lan Luofang averted their gazes so as not to hurt their eyes. A moment later, Lan Luochen covered the red gauze once again and said, "These 2 people's bottoms are also naked, and, yes, they were seriously injured. I guess that the cause of their death was not due to external injuries. It seems that they were sucked dry of their essence and blood." Seeing that the 2 of them were not wearing any clothes, everyone had already guessed a thing or 2. Therefore, they were not surprised to hear Lan Luma's words. However, the expression on their faces became even more solemn. At this moment, Lan Luofang found some pieces of clothes at the side. These clothes should belong to the Qi family. It seems that these 2 people should be from the Qi family. Yun Shujia's expression did not change much. She looked at the wounds on the corpses and said, "These 2 people should have been dead for at least 3 days. Mu Zian and the others should have already left the second level by now. Moreover, since these 2 bodies have not been eaten, it means that there are no wild beasts in the second level." Lan Luoyen said with a sobbing voice, "Although there are no wild beasts, I'm afraid there are things that are more terrifying than wild beasts." Yun Shujo glanced at her. "Don't worry. That thing probably only likes men. Why are you worried?" As soon as Yun Shujo said that, Lan Luoyen stopped crying, while Lan Luomu and the others shivered. "Alright, maybe that thing has already been killed by Mu Zian and the others. Let's continue on our way," Yun Shujo said indifferently. Seeing that her tone was so relaxed, everyone's mood eased up a little. Actually, Yun Shujo was also very worried. However, as the leader, if she appeared to be very worried, the people below would be even more anxious. Therefore, she had to stabilize the morale of the army. Not long after the group walked out, a woman in red walked towards them. As they got closer, the group also saw the woman's appearance clearly. Her appearance was naturally incomparably beautiful. Moreover, her actions were intentionally or unintentionally charming, making people blush and their hearts beat. Of course, Lan Luomu and the others had already seen the two tragic corpses. At this moment, there was only fear in their hearts, not the slightest bit of infatuation. Everyone's faces were solemn, and cold sweat started to appear on their foreheads. This woman was most likely the murderer of the previous two people. Was she a human or something else? Everyone subconsciously wanted to run back, but they heard Yun Chuzhou say with a smile, "Auntie in front, the men here are all eunuchs. Don't waste your time. Hurry up and find someone else." Lan Luomu and the others, a certain person in the sleeve bag. Chapter 50-48. The two of them should stay. The woman was obviously shocked by Yun Chuzhi's words. She stopped in her tracks and then smiled seductively. "Little sister, your eyesight isn't good at such a young age. I think it's useless to keep your eyes. Why don't you dig them out? Aunt, don't talk about these useless things. Hurry up and leave. Otherwise, if our companions come back, you won't survive." Yun Chuzhou said tentatively. The woman sneered, "They have already gone to the 3rd level. Why would they come back to save you? Previously, they volunteered to leave 2 people for me to play with. If you do as I say, I will let the others leave. Otherwise, all of you can stay here." Everyone was stunned when they heard that. Mu Zian and the others actually volunteered to leave the 2 people behind? They were really ruthless. However, if they had not been dealt with by Yun Chuzhou previously, perhaps they would have done the same. After all, nothing was more important than their own lives. Yun Chuzhou did not only think of this. Since this woman was willing to offer to let them leave, it was most likely because this woman was not that strong. Otherwise, wouldn't it be better if they all stayed? The woman saw that Yun Chuzhou did not speak and thought that she had agreed to her suggestion. She pointed at Lan Luomu and Lan Luocheng and said, "I think the 2 of them are not bad. Let them stay." Lan Luomu and Lan Luocheng's expressions immediately changed. That troublemaker would not abandon them, right? At this moment, Yun Chuzhou chuckled and said, "Aunt, this bluff won't work on me. I don't care what you are, these people are my people. I won't leave any of them for you." The woman misunderstood Yun Chuzhi's words and thought that she meant that Lan Luomu and the others were her men. She couldn't help but sneer, "You little girl, you have no breasts, no body, and you have a big appetite. If you don't agree with me, none of you can think of leaving." As soon as the girl finished speaking, she found that the little girl who had been fooling around was emitting a strong murderous aura. Yun Chuzhi's face was cold. "Who the fuck are you calling having no breasts? Who are you calling having no body? You ugly freak, you old hag. I'll kill you." Hei Xinzhou, who had been stepped on by the cat's tail, was not in the mood to argue with the girl anymore. She immediately waved her paw and said, "Release the spiritual beast to take care of her. Since she is willing to offer conditions, she is not that powerful. Don't be afraid of her." Hearing that, Lan Luomu and the others felt that what she said made sense. Although this woman was strange, she was not necessarily capable. Therefore, they all released their spiritual beasts to attack the woman. The woman snorted and her body suddenly changed into a huge white fox with 7 huge tails behind her. However, his reminder was a little late. Lan Luocheng and Lan Luoji had already fallen for it. The 2 people's eyes suddenly became dull, and their bodies couldn't help but move forward. Yun Chuzhou took out a large awl and threw it to Lan Luofang, "Stab." Lan Luofang saw the awl that was as thick as a pinky finger, and swallowed her saliva. It seemed that little Nine was still kind to her last time, and only used needles to stab her. Lan Luofang took the big awl and gave it to Lan Luocheng and Lan Luoji. She was secretly happy. They had mocked her many times before. It was really satisfying. Lan Luocheng and Lan Luoji recovered from the pain and did not have time to say anything. They quickly joined the battle. The white fox gradually fell into a disadvantage. Just when everyone was relieved, the white fox's aura suddenly soared and another tail grew out from its back. Chapter 5049 Scared you to death, not good, it's actually an 8-tailed fox, everyone be careful. Lan Luma's voice was slightly trembling. Although the 7-tailed charm fox and the 8-tailed fox only lacked one tail, the difference between the two could be said to be heaven and earth. Fortunately, this woman was not a 9-tailed fox, or else there would really be no way to survive. Yun Shujo rolled her eyes and shouted, "Hey, Aunt, I advise you not to be brave. If you forcefully use 8 tails, you might not be able to preserve your appearance." The woman gritted her teeth and said, "Stupid girl, you're courting death. It doesn't matter even if you do that. As long as I pick up a few more men, I'll naturally be able to restore my looks." Hearing that, Yun Shujo immediately understood that her guess was right. This fox should have forcefully increased her strength. As long as she delayed it for a while, it would not be able to hold on anymore. Therefore, this fellow said with a smile, "Aunt, it's useless even if you act tough. Can you still transform into 9 tails if you continue to act tough? There's a 9-tailed fox in my spiritual pet. If I let it out, you'll be scared to death." The woman suddenly stopped and took a few steps back. "What did you say?" Yun Shujo thought that she was afraid and said proudly, "Are you afraid? Get out of here quickly, or I'll let out the 9-tailed fox to scare you to death." The woman snorted coldly. "9-tailed fox? You really dare to say that? Show me if you have the ability." The Lan family members were speechless when they saw Hei Shinjo. Even if you lied, there must be a limit. 9-tailed fox? It was rare to see a fox with 4 tails, okay? Yun Shujo slowly summoned Xiaohong and said, "See? I'm asking if you're afraid." The corners of the Lan family members' eyes twitched. Although the fire fox in front of them had grown 6 tails, it was still far from having 9 tails. Xiaohong felt the contempt of the crowd. If she was not afraid that Yun Shujo would take care of it, she would have used the 9-tailed fox to show off. The woman sized up Xiaohong and snorted, "Is this the 9-tailed fox you were talking about? This is the son of the 9-tailed fox. If you don't know your place, I will release the 9-tailed fox." Yun Shujo said with her arms crossed. Xiaohong's heart was like a dog that was bickering. For no reason, she had a father. The woman laughed mockingly. "Little girl, your words might be able to fool others, but to fool me? You really have the wrong plan. The 9-tailed fox's cultivation is superb. How could it be subdued by a little girl like you? Furthermore, do you know what my relationship with it is? It won't harm me at all." Yun Shujo blinked her eyes and said deliberately, "Is the 9-tailed fox your son or your father?" The woman was so angry that she gritted her teeth. "The 9-tailed fox is my husband. Cut the crap and accept your death." Yun Shujo took out a bone and threw it in front of the woman. "Here, your husband." The woman saw that the bone suddenly turned into a human shape. She picked up the bone and took a few steps back in disbelief. This is impossible. Where did you get it?" Yun Shuji's eyes flashed. "I found it on a low-level continent." At that time, there was the skeleton of a 9-tailed fox, and it was locked with 6 10,000-year-old black iron chains. That 9-tailed fox only has a remnant soul left. It asked me to help it. What favor? The woman could not wait to ask. Chapter 5050 It was too kind. It said that it wanted to divorce its wife. It said that the most regretful thing it had ever done in its life was to marry a promiscuous wife. It was cuckolded all day long, and its head was turning green like a prairie. Hey, Shinjo said with her lips curled. The woman screamed sharply, "What? How dare that bastard say that? It has been fooling around outside all day, so why should I guard it? Furthermore, we fox couples have always been playing by ourselves. Why does he have to divorce me? Enrich, I know now. It must be you who is spouting nonsense. It's impossible for husband to say something like that." Yun Shujo spread her hands. "Believe it or not, that's what he said. Furthermore, if he wasn't trying to avoid you, why did he run to a lower continent and get trapped by someone? What do you know? Isn't it the same as back then?" The woman suddenly covered her head in pain. "Back then? What happened back then? Why can't I remember anything?" Yun Shujo frowned. This was not the first time she had seen such a situation. What kind of person could leave a mark in these ancient divine beasts or human spiritual senses and prevent them from telling the truth? What kind of terrifying power was this? The woman's expression became more and more painful. She even directly transformed into her beast form and kept rolling on the ground. Yun Shujo never knew what it meant to not take advantage of others when they were in danger. She immediately gestured to everyone and they all rushed forward. The eight-tailed celestial fox's spiritual sense was in great pain, so its strength was greatly reduced. In the end, it was killed by everyone. However, everyone was stunned to find that after the eight-tailed celestial fox died, there was no corpse on the ground. It actually disappeared into thin air. This should only be the remnant soul of the eight-tailed celestial fox. After all, if it was really an eight-tailed celestial fox, how could we be her match? Yun Shujo said. Everyone thought about it and realized that it made sense. Although the eight-tailed celestial fox was slightly weaker than the divine beast, the strength of an adult eight-tailed celestial fox was also very terrifying. How could it be killed so easily? Although Yun Shujo had many questions in her heart, she was pressed for time and did not have the time to think carefully. She immediately led everyone to the stairs leading to the third floor. When they arrived, the sky had already darkened. Everyone decided to continue their journey after daybreak. When Goei Batsao heard this, she immediately felt that the opportunity to show off her skills had arrived. Didn't the little girl say it before? Destroying the steps was a good thing. Then it would go and destroy the steps at night to help the smelly girl. Goei Batsao simply felt that it was too kind. Thus, after Hei Shinjo fell asleep, Goei Batsao jumped towards the steps. According to its previous experience, it successfully destroyed the stairs again. Goei Batsao looked at the ruins on the ground and was quite proud. As the saying went, once the dog tail appeared, who could compete with it? Yun Shujo and the others were stationed not far from here, so they rushed over when they heard the noise. Why did the stairs collapse again? Isn't this too much of a coincidence? Lan Luomu said in surprise. Yeah, it's really strange. Every time when we were resting, the stairs would be destroyed, Lan Luoji echoed. Yun Shujo narrowed her eyes. What on earth was going on? She ordered the group to search through the ruins and found another bead and fragments of the formation plate. It was almost the same as the previous stairs. Chapter 50-51, Goei Batsao, Little Jiu, didn't you say it before? It's a good thing that the steps are ruined. Maybe the heavens are helping us. Lan Luofang said. The Goei Batsao in the grass was quite proud. It was not the help of the heavens, but the meritorious service here. Yun Shujo did not say anything. There must be something wrong. She always felt that it was not that simple. At this moment, Yun Shujia's spiritual sense transmitted the excited voice of the rolling pin. Master, I have good news for you. I'm going to break through. Yun Shujo lost contact with the rolling pin before she could reply. To be exact, the weapon spirit of the rolling pin was in a state of hibernation. Yun Shujo, she took out the rolling pin and muttered, Baby rolling pin, grow longer. Grow longer. Rui rolling pin, grow longer and longer. My little cutie, grow longer. However, after repeating it more than 10 times, the rolling pin was still. The rolling pin. The Lan family members had a bad feeling. Lan Luofeng asked with a trembling voice, Little Jiu, is there something wrong with your rolling pin? Yun Shujiu showed an awkward but polite smile. It's not a big problem. It's just that it can't grow longer. Everyone. This wasn't a big problem? It was a big problem. If the rolling pin couldn't grow any longer, how were they supposed to get up there? The head of Goei Batsao in the haystack buzzed. It was over. It wasn't helping. It wasn't its fault. If anyone was to blame, it would be that damned rolling pin. When was a bad time to break through? Why did it have to break through at this time? What else could a rolling pin do if it broke through again? At most, it would turn into a burning pin. Besides, the smelly girl didn't know that it did it anyway. As long as it didn't say anything, only heaven and earth would know. What was there to be afraid of? With this thought, Goei Batsao immediately calmed down and hid in the bushes to watch the show. Everyone was frowning. The second level was more than 100 feet high from the third level. Without the rolling pin, how were they going to get up there? Yun Shujiu didn't have any ideas for the time being. She had tried the little Wu Yun before, but the little Wu Yun couldn't fly at all. Clearly, it was restricted here. Just as Yun Shujiu was frowning, the little silver snake in her sleeve pocket struggled a few times. Yun Shujiu frowned. What was this pretty boy doing? Didn't he know that she was troubled? However, she still walked to the side and took out the small silver snake with her back facing the crowd. She said snappily, Pretty boy, what do you want to do? Don't you know that I'm busy right now? The small silver snake's vertical pupils immediately turned cold as it said in a cold tone, I just want to remind you that the rolling pin is just a long rod. When you connect the bamboo pole or the wooden rod, the effect should be the same. When Yun Shujiu heard that, she immediately slapped her thigh. That's right. She was really stupid. She had everything in her storage ring. Couldn't she just randomly find some bamboo poles to connect them together? When this fellow saw the little silver snake's cold gaze, he immediately said guiltily, Gigolo, no, my dear Prince Charming, I was wrong. I shouldn't have spoken to you like that. You're a grown-up and don't remember me for my past transgressions, so don't hold it against me. The little silver snake's gaze was still cold. This ugly girl was getting more and more overboard. He had to let her know what it meant to be a husband. Chapter 50-52 will be discussed later. He Xinjiu saw that the little silver snake did not make a sound, and his eyes were still cold. She said flatteringly, Male god, you are indeed my male god. Not only are you beautiful, but you are also extremely wise. Fortunately, I am not a man. Otherwise, I would be ashamed to live compared to you. The little silver snake still did not make a sound, but the coldness in his eyes had faded a lot. My Prince Charming, it's a good thing that you're by my side. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to think of a solution even if I racked my brains. You're really too smart. The coldness in the little silver snake's eyes had faded a lot, and only a little bit of its face remained. You're such an outstanding man, but you're actually my fiancé. I'm so honored. Prince Charming, come, let's kiss. The silver snake saw Yun Shujiu's pouty lips coming over and immediately slipped back into its sleeve pocket. It stuttered, next time, it won't happen again. Yun Shujiu pursed her lips. You're at Sundra. I can't control you. Although this fellow thought so in his heart, he said obediently on the surface, I know. It'll definitely change my past in the future. The little silver snake pretended to be aloof and acknowledged, but its body was suffused with a faint pink color. He thought to himself, no matter what, the ugly girl had already admitted her mistake. As for the matter of Fu Gang, he should talk about it in the future. After Yun Shujiu fawned on a certain someone, she returned to the place where everyone was gathered and explained Di Biming's method. Everyone was stunned at first, then they were overjoyed. That's right, they were really one-track minded. They could totally use something else to replace the rolling pin. The Goei Batsao in the bushes also let out a sigh of relief. Let's see, wasn't the final result still good? That was why Go Weiba was a great fortune. It could always turn a disaster into a blessing. It was simply wonderful. At this time, it was almost dawn. Everyone was not in the mood to sleep anymore. They quickly tied the bamboo pole that Yun Shujo took out together. After finishing, Yun Shujo tested the sturdiness of the bamboo poles before putting Xiao Hei on it. However, to be on the safe side, she also placed a lot of gunny sacks underneath. The gunny sacks were filled with soft cotton. Everyone looked at the pile of gunny sacks with an interesting expression on their faces. This storage ring of the troublemaker was like a treasure chest. How could it contain so much cotton? They did not know that Hei Shinjo had experienced too many things. As a precautionary measure, the storage ring could be said to have everything. Xiao Hei successfully jumped onto the third level of the levitation layer and pulled everyone up. The third level's building was obviously much more luxurious than the two lower levels. However, everyone was not too interested in it. They only wanted to find the teleportation enchantment at the exit as soon as possible. Therefore, when everyone learned from Lan Luomu that there was no portal on the third floor, they immediately rushed to the entrance to the fourth floor. However, they soon saw that there was a lot of blood on the bluestone in front of them, as well as a few corpses. What surprised everyone was that the cause of death of those corpses was actually the spiritual power of the cultivators. Could it be that the Mu family and others had an internal conflict? Lan Luoyen spat, "Dogs biting dogs, serves you right." As soon as she finished speaking, someone cried out in shock, "You, what's wrong with you? Why do you look exactly like me? Who are you?" Everyone looked towards the source of the voice and saw that the woman who spoke looked exactly like Lan Luoyen. Whether it was her appearance, voice, or expression, they were exactly the same. Chapter 50-53, Who is the Fake? Lan Luoyen No. 1's face was filled with anger. "You are the fake. I'm going to kill you." "Kill me? I'm going to kill you. How dare you pretend to be me? You must be tired of living." Lan Luoyen No. 2 said, unwilling to be outdone. Everyone was dumbfounded. Why were there two Lan Luoyen? Lan Luomu and Lan Luocheng separated the two of them and then looked at Yun Shujo. "Captain, which of these two is real?" Yun Shujo narrowed her eyes. Just as she was about to speak, another round of chaos broke out. Lan Luomu and the others had also turned into two. The scene was noisy, and some of them had already started fighting. Yun Shujo shouted sternly, "Stop! Whoever fights again will be a fake." However, a voice sounded beside her. "You bastard, how dare you pretend to be my little fairy Jo? Are you tired of living?" Yun Shujo turned her head and saw a woman who looked exactly like her standing beside her. She was scolding her with her hands on her waist, just like how she usually looked in the mirror. Yun Shujo curled her lips. Interesting, there are actually people who dare to pretend to be me in this world. The impostor curled his lips. "I wanted to give you these words. Where did you get the courage to pretend to be me? Shameless." For a moment, the scene was in chaos. Some people had already started to fight again. Yun Shujo narrowed her eyes. She had to quickly control the situation, or the consequences would be unimaginable. She looked at the impostor and directly struck out several bolts of lightning. Who would have thought that the impostor would also return Yun Shujo a few bolts of lightning? Yun Shuji's heart was shocked. This impostor's imitation was so real that it could even imitate a spiritual root. However, even if it could imitate, it probably wouldn't be able to imitate the small flame in her palm. When Yun Shujo thought of this, when she attacked again, it was directly mixed with the flame of the small flame. As expected, the impostor didn't think that Yun Shujo would actually have a small flame, and it was burned directly. At this moment, Yun Shujo had Xiao Hanyo curse her. She took the opportunity when the impostor was staggering and killed him. However, she was surprised to find that after the impostor died, there was a pearl on the ground. It was actually a paranoia beast. After killing the impostor, Yun Shujo shouted, "Everyone stop. If anyone continues to attack, it means that he is an impostor." Hearing that, everyone stopped and stared at each other indignantly. Yun Shujo narrowed her eyes. How could she tell who was real and who was fake? Yun Shujo called the two Lan Luofang to the front and asked, "Each of you tell me something that only she and I know." Lan Luofang no. One said, "Little Jiu, I've cut down the immortal wood with you and found a simple and convenient way." Yun Shujo nodded. Only she and Lan Luofang knew this. This should be true. At this moment, Lan Luofang number 2 said, "Little Jiu, you and I killed a fox and a beast on the flat street. You even stabbed me with a needle." When Yun Shujo heard this, it was true. Only she and Lan Luofang knew this. Then, the question was, who was the real one? Seeing that Yun Shujo was hesitating, Lan Luofang number 1 quickly said, "Little Jiu, I went to my grandfather's house previously. It was you who sent me a message, so I rushed back." Lan Luofang number 2 was not willing to be outdone. "Little Jiu, you were afraid that I would be in danger, so you gave me a lot of chili noodles. You even told me to run if I couldn't beat you." Yun Shujia's eyes flashed. She probably already knew who the impostor was. Chapter 50-54 was exposed. The Lan Luofang, who spoke later, was talking about what happened in Supreme City, so most of it was fake. However, to be on the safe side, Yun Shujo decided to test it again. Therefore, she said to Lan Luofang number 2, "I gave you a phoenix hairpin before, take it out and let me have a look." Lan Luofang number 2's face stiffened, and she said with a dry smile, "Little Jiu, I left it at home and didn't bring it over." Hearing this, Yun Shujo raised her hand and shot out several bolts of lightning. There were small flames mixed within. Seeing this, Lan Luofang number 1 also rushed forward to help. She even shouted, "Little Jiu is an iron rooster. Why would she give me a hairpin?" Yun Shujo, if she had known this would happen, she would have kept that fake. Lan Luofang number 2 was naturally not a match for Yun Shujo and Lan Luofang. She was killed very quickly. Yun Shujo realized that these imposters were obviously good at mimicry, but in fact, their abilities were not that great. She looked at the rest of the people and curled the corners of her lips. "I have 10,000 ways to tell who is real and who is fake, so I advise you to take the initiative to leave. Otherwise, the previous 2 will end up like you." She did not know if she was scared by Yun Shujia's words, but 6 people immediately ran away. Yun Shujo did not chase after them, but shouted, "Tell your companions not to provoke me, or else one of them will die. I will make you extinct." It was unknown if it was an illusion, but everyone realized that the 6 people ran even faster. In fact, Yun Shujo had an even faster method, which was to let everyone summon the spirit beasts that she had rented to them previously. Those imposters naturally could not do it. However, it seemed that those imposters were very timid and actually ran away after a scare. "Everyone, be careful. Don't act alone, lest you are killed by someone and then pretend to be someone else," Yun Shujo said seriously. Everyone nodded in agreement. This supreme city was indeed strange. There was actually such an incredible beast. Lan Luofang asked in puzzlement, "Little Jiu, the corpses that we saw earlier were all killed by cultivator spiritual power. What happened? Were they killed by those imposters?" Yun Shujo shook her head. "Those imposters aren't very capable. It's highly likely that they were imposters who instigated a rift or deliberately provoked a fight, causing Mu Zian and the others to have internal strife. The members of the Lan family couldn't help but feel some lingering fear. Fortunately, they had already submitted to Yun Shujo, so Yun Shujo gave the order and no one attacked anymore. Otherwise, there would probably be some casualties. When it was almost evening, everyone rushed to the center of the third level. They did not find a step, but they saw an old man with triangular eyes. San Jiaoyan. The old man looked at everyone and then said, "You want to go to the fourth level of the levitation layer?" Lan Luomu and the others did not say anything and looked at Yun Chuzhou. Yun Chuzhou said with a smile, "Yes, we want to go to the fourth level of the levitation layer. If you can meet my conditions, I will send you up. Otherwise, you can only stay in the third level," said the old man. "Oh? What conditions?" Yun Chuzhou raised her eyebrows and asked. "I don't have any other hobbies. I just like young and beautiful women. You only need to keep one woman as my concubine, and I will let you up." As the old man spoke, he looked at Lan Luoyen and Lan Luofang with malicious intent. Chapter 50-55. Kill Lan Luoyen and Lan Luofang were embarrassed and annoyed by his gaze. They wished they could just kill him. However, Yun Chuzhou had not spoken yet, so they could not make a move. Yun Chuzhou laughed lightly. "Did the previous group of people leave anyone for you?" The old man's face revealed a hint of perversity. "Of course. However, that little girl could not take it anymore and was already played to death by me." Yun Chuzhou thought to herself that Mu Zian and the others had used human lives to pave the way. She wanted to see how they would climb up after all their people had died. "I like people with good figures. Let's keep her." The old man pointed at Lan Luoyen. Lan Luoyen was about to go crazy from anger. She cursed, "You old shameless man. Dream on." The old man let out a strange laugh. "No matter how you curse, you're still my people. Because without me, you won't be able to find the way up. You can only die trapped on the third floor." Yun Chuzhou looked at the sky. If they held on tight, they could reach the fourth floor before it was completely dark. Therefore, they did not have the patience to deal with the old man. Therefore, she said, "Kill him." The old man could not believe his ears. While resisting the attacks of the crowd, he shouted in exasperation, "If you kill me, you won't be able to find the way up." Go-Wei Batsao, who was hiding in Yun Chuzhi's hair, shook its leaves. What an idiot. The stupid girl did not need any stairs at all. However, there were no stairs here, so there was no place for Go-Wei Ba to use its tail. When the old man saw that the crowd was really going to kill him, he did not know what method he used to disappear on the spot. When he reappeared, he was already dozens of feet away. The old man said coldly, "What a bunch of people who don't know life and death. I want to see how you guys are going to go up." Lan Luoyen was about to chase after him, but Yun Chuzhou stopped her. "Don't fall for it. If you are alone, those imposters might take advantage of the situation and enter. Don't bother with him." Lan Luoyen stomped her feet angrily. "Then we will let this old pervert have it easy? I can't wait to kill him." Yun Chuzhou chuckled. "They're just a bunch of pitiful creatures. Why bother with him? Let's go up before the sky turns completely dark." When the old man heard Yun Chuzhi's words, he could not help but be stunned. Then, a cold smile appeared on his face. Yun Chuzhou did the same thing. She propped up the bamboo pole and sent Xiao Hei up. The old man pursed his lips. What was the use of getting such a small thing up there? Could it be that they wanted it to fix the rope somewhere? Then they had made a mistake. There was no place on the rope that could fix the rope. Yun Chuzhou had long thought of this. Hence, she let the others go up first while she stayed at the end. Seeing that Yun Chuzhou was the only one left, the old man said with a fake smile, "Little girl, although your figure is not that good, your looks are not bad, so you can stay." Yun Chuzhou was once again stepped on by the cat's tail, so she was naturally not in a good mood. She sneered, "Really? That depends on whether you have the ability." Yun Chuzhou directly summoned little slut number 2 to little slut number 9. 8 flying swords suddenly flew out and all of them stabbed at the old man. At the same time, Yunshujo shot out several bolts of lightning and several small purple needles. There were also small flames mixed in between them. Go-Wei Butsao was so anxious. Why didn't this stupid girl let it go? If it was let out, wouldn't it be able to save up some money again? Chapter 50-56 Go-Wei Butsao lost its way. The old man did not put Yunshujo in his eyes at all, so for a moment, he was confused by her endless tricks. Each of these tricks was more and more rare, he had never seen them before. Therefore, before he could even use his supernatural power, he was killed just like that. Yunshujo picked up the Wanzhu on the ground and was dragged up by Xiao He. Go-Wei Butsao thought angrily, that old thing is really useless. He was actually killed just like that. Why don't you just hop around for a while longer? Maybe the smelly girl will let him out. However, Go-Wei Butsao soon lost the mood to complain because it was stunned by the situation on the 4th level. Yunshujo and the others were also stunned. Even in their dreams, they never thought that the 4th level of the levitation layer would be so beautiful. The ground was covered with exotic flowers and plants. There were carved beams and picturesque buildings. There were also wisps of clouds and mist floating around. Under the setting sun, it was exactly the same as the fairyland they had imagined. Lan Luofang said hesitantly, "It's so beautiful. It's really the same as the fairyland." The others also chimed in. Although the 3rd level was luxurious, it was still tainted by the worldly aura. The 4th level was different. It had an extraordinary feeling. Just as everyone was sighing, Yunshujo said faintly, "Don't be fooled by appearances. Be careful." Everyone's hearts trembled and they immediately became vigilant. For the sake of being careful, Yunshujo decided to rest at the same place and set off the next day at dawn. As the situation was unknown, Yunshujo specially arranged for Lan Luocheng, Lan Luoji, and Lan Luomu to be on guard at night. When the Guai Chao in Yunshujia's hair saw that the night was getting dark, she could not help but jump onto the ground again, preparing to walk around. This guy left the small square where everyone was resting and went to a bush of flowers in front. When this guy saw the bright flowers, his face was full of disdain. A group of coquettish bitches. How could they be as reserved and dignified as Go-Wei Butsao? This fellow thought as he hopped to the nearest pavilion. This was an extremely exquisite pavilion. There was a plaque hanging on the front door. Of course, Go-Wei Butsao was illiterate and did not recognize it at all. Go-Wei Butsao was not interested in these things. It ran from room to room. It was surprised to find that the things inside were actually perfectly preserved. It was as if everything had been sealed by time. Although Go-Wei Butsao was quite intelligent, it was also a little clever. It could not understand things that were too complicated, and it was too lazy to think about it. Seeing that it was not interested in anything, it wanted to leave. However, it found that it was lost. No matter how it turned, it could not turn out. It even looked at the direction of the moon in the sky, but it still could not turn out. Go-Wei Butsao could not help but feel sad. It was over. It was trapped here. Although it was only formed from spiritual power and not the original form of the Guai Chao, this little treasury was very difficult to gather. It was simply a waste of God's gift to be trapped here. The next morning, everyone washed up and began to set off. The Guai Chao in Yunshujia's dantian was very conflicted. Should it remind the stinky girl not to enter that courtyard? If the stinky girl entered the courtyard, she might be able to save its little treasury. However, doing so seemed to be a little unorthodox. Some of it was not worthy of its lofty grass grid. Before the Guai Chao could think of a plan, Yunshujo and the others had already discovered the pavilion. Chapter 50-57, The Celestial Master's Mansion. With Butt-Face's help, Yunshujo recognized the 3 words on the plaque, the Celestial Master's Mansion. Yunshujo burst into laughter. The Celestial Master's mansion? There are so-called Celestial Masters in this supreme land? The small silver snake in Yunchujia's sleeve suddenly struggled. Yunchujio walked to the side and picked up the small silver snake. Little White, He Shinjo saw Di Baiming's deep gaze and laughed dryly. Prince Charming, what are your orders? Di Baiming snorted coldly. I heard from Butt-Face that you once found a pair of grandfathers and grandsons who were both Spirit Masters Yen, right? Previously on Mount Meru, Yunchujio had been struck by lightning. Butt-Face had told Di Baiming many things about Yunchujio, and this was one of them. Yunchujio nodded. That's right. One is Ziheng's younger brother, and the other is Ziheng's grandfather. Why do you suddenly think of them? I vaguely remember that although the Spirit Master Yen clan is not a celestial race, the best among them were given the title of Celestial Master and were given the same treatment as the Celestials. You mean that the previous owner of this Celestial Master mansion was Spirit Master Yen? Yunchujio asked in surprise. That's right. If my memory is correct, it should be like this. Di Baiming's memories were only appearing little by little after the seal was broken, so he was not sure. Yunchujio blinked her eyes. I remember you once told me that you might need Spirit Master Yen in the future. What do you plan to do with them? Di Baiming shook his head. I don't know either. Just like how I know that those bones are useful to me, I have a vague feeling that I will need Spirit Master Yen. Yunchujio cursed in her heart. It was as if she didn't say anything. Forget it, she couldn't be bothered to argue with an amnesia snake. However, since the gigolo said that the master of the Celestial Master Mansion was Spirit Master Yen, she had to go in and take a look. Perhaps, there might be some unexpected gains. Seeing that Yunchujio wanted to go in, the Guai Chao in her dantian immediately stopped struggling. It was the stupid girl who wanted to go in on her own accord. It could not be blamed. However, why was there still a tinge of guilt? Just as Yunchujio was about to push open the door, the Guai Chao decided to remind her. It could not be helped. It was too kind. As the Guai Chao struggled, Yunchujia's dantian was in pain. She guessed with her spiritual sense, is this mansion inappropriate? Guai Chao immediately used a leaf to indicate that something was wrong. Something was very wrong. When Yunchujio saw this, she could not help but stop in her tracks. If Go Weiba said that something was wrong, then there should really be something wrong inside. So, should she go in or not? However, this guy thought that since the Spirit Master Yen was useful to the gigolo, perhaps he could find some useful things in the Celestial Master's mansion. It was better to go in and take a look. Just as this guy was thinking, the members of the Lan family had already pushed open the door and entered. After all, she and Guai Chao were communicating with their spiritual senses. The members of the Lan family did not know about this. Seeing this, Yunchujio did not need to hesitate anymore. Guai Chao also heaved a sigh of relief. This was not its fault. It was this stupid girl who insisted on going in. This guy quickly directed his little treasury to run in the direction of Yunchujio. TSK, today was really a good day. He could do whatever he wanted. Yunchujio was not interested in the exquisiteness of the courtyard. She walked into the main hall opposite the main door. The furnishings in the main hall did not show any signs of being tampered with. There was even half a cup of tea in the teacup. It was as if someone was laughing and chatting with her just a moment ago. Chapter 50-58, Yen Feng. Before entering, Yunchujio had already instructed the Lan family members not to touch anything inside. Therefore, Lan Luofeng and the others only looked around curiously. No one touched the items inside the house. Yunchujio and the others walked around the main hall. They did not find anything unusual, so they entered the second-floor courtyard. Goei Batsao had hidden in the grass in the second-floor courtyard. When it saw Yunchujio coming over, it immediately sneakily flew onto Yunchujia's shoes. Everyone's attention was on the exquisite surroundings, so no one noticed Goei Batsao. Even so, Goei Batsao did not dare to rashly fly onto Yun Chujia's hair. It could only sadly lie on Yun Chujia's shoes. This fellow had made up his mind that he would never wander around again. It was too dangerous. There were many rooms in the courtyard. Yun Chujio glanced at them and said, "The rooms here are similar. In order to avoid any accidents, everyone will enter and leave together. Do not act alone." Everyone was very obedient now, so they all nodded in agreement. Goei Batsao thought to himself, "This stupid girl is really cunning. I just don't know if she will fall for it too." Yun Chujio led everyone into a room in the middle. It was very spacious, and the decoration was similar to the main hall. Yun Chujio led everyone to the room next door to take a look. Other than the exquisite decorations, it was no different from the layout of an ordinary mansion. Yun Chujio had no choice but to bring her people into the third courtyard. Once they entered the third-floor courtyard, one of the doors opened automatically. Everyone was shocked. Why did the door open by itself? Could there be someone inside? Yun Chujio was also shocked. She secretly walked closer and looked inside. It seemed to be a study room. The question was, should they enter or not? This guy decided to be more polite. He bowed and said, "May I ask who is in the room? Is it the Celestial Master?" Lan Luoyen and the others were dumbfounded. What was going on? Was the Celestial Master referring to the master of the mansion? He had died a long time ago. While everyone was thinking, an old sigh came from inside the room. "Honored guest, please come in." Everyone staggered in shock. Was there really someone inside? Yun Chujio shamelessly pointed at herself. "Honored guest, are you referring to me?" There was no reply from inside. Instead, a huge force pulled Yun Chujio inside and the door was closed again. Lan Luofeng and the others were about to barge in, but they realized that they could not find the previous room. For a moment, they were burning with anxiety. After Yun Chujio entered the room, she realized that it was indeed a study room. Behind the desk stood an old man with a white beard and hair. He looked like a celestial being, just like the old celestial being that Yun Chujio had imagined. Yun Chujio was about to speak, but the old man nodded slightly. "Honored guest, greetings." Hei Shinjo could not help but feel flattered. This old man was very polite. The old man pretended to return the greeting and then asked, "Are you the Celestial Master?" The old man smiled bitterly. "Celestial Master? Honored guest, please call me Yen Feng." "Senior Yen, may I know why you called me in?" Yun Chujio naturally would not call him by his name, so she called him Senior Yen. "Honored guest, please take a seat," Yen Feng said politely. Yun Chujio didn't stand on ceremony and directly sat on the chair. She was puzzled. What did this old man want to say? Chapter 50-59. For sentences. Yen Feng only sat down when he saw Yun Chujio sit down. "Honored guest, to tell you the truth, this old man is only a remnant of my spiritual sense," Yen Feng said with a sigh. Yun Chujio had long guessed this, so she was not surprised. Yen Feng continued, "Although this old man is not proficient in learning, as a spiritual master Yen, I can also deduce some things. I am very grateful to you for saving my junior's life." Yun Chujio smiled and said, "Senior Yen, you are too polite. It is only right to see injustice on the road and lend a helping hand." This fellow thought to himself, "Io, this old man is too amazing. He can even calculate the things that will happen tens of thousands of years later." Yen Feng sighed, "Now, our spiritual master Yen clan is already very withered, right? Junior doesn't know much about the specific situation, but it seems that there are very few rumors," Yun Chujio said tactfully. Yen Feng smiled bitterly. "Honored guest, you don't have to be so cautious. Let's not talk about how you owe my junior a favor. With my identity as an honored guest, this old man wouldn't dare to act rashly. If it wasn't for the fact that my remaining spiritual sense was too weak to leave this position, this old man would have sat at the head of the honored guest. Yun Shujo was stunned. My identity? What identity? Yen Feng shook his head. Honored guest, you are still so thoughtful. No wonder. Yen Feng did not continue speaking when he said this. Instead, he changed the topic. Honored guest, I invited you in to remind you that the Divine Emperor Pavilion is fraught with danger. Don't trust others easily. Remember. Divine Emperor Pavilion? Are you talking about the 18th level? Yun Shujo asked in puzzlement. That's right. It's the highest level. That used to be the Divine Emperor Pavilion where the Emperor Shen lived. I've already calculated that if you want to leave, you have to enter the Divine Emperor Pavilion. Yen Feng said. Yun Shujo stood up and bowed respectfully. Thank you for your reminder, senior. Do you have any unfinished wishes? If you need my help, feel free to say it. Without benefits, one would not get up early. Yun Shujo felt that this old man was not just simply repaying a debt of gratitude. Yen Feng smiled and said, Honored guest, you are indeed smart. This old man does have a favor to ask of you. Because our spirit master Yen clan was able to unravel the secrets of the heavens, most of us died young. This is our fate. This old man is not the least bit unwilling. I only hope that you can protect Spirit Master Yan's family and prevent it from being exterminated due to other unforeseen circumstances, so that the Yen family's bloodline can be passed on. Yen Feng stood up and bowed solemnly. Yun Shujo quickly jumped up from the chair and moved to the side. Senior Yen, you're too polite. I'll agree. However, I'm just a little trash now. I'm afraid that I won't be of much help for the time being. Yen Feng's face stiffened and he said slowly, Honored guest, you are just a hidden dragon in the abyss. There will come a time when you will soar to the sky. Hei Shinjo was very pleased with Yen Feng's words, but she still asked about serious matters. Senior Yen, why has this supreme city become like this? And who destroyed the God clan? Yen Feng shook his head. We can't tell you. Our honored guest will find out sooner or later. The corner of Yun Shuji's eyes twitched. It seemed like she couldn't get anything out of him, but it was good enough that she got a reminder. Yun Shujo was about to say something, but she realized that she had already arrived outside the house. However, she didn't know when, but there was a note in her hand. There were 4 sentences on it. A wild goose flies to the clouds in anger, the shadow of a branch in the west of the mountain at sunset, a pair of broken stars perches on a good tree, the world is full of strange things. Chapter 50-60 Extraterrestrial Soul. Yun Shujo looked at the piece of paper with a dumbfounded expression. This piece of paper was given to her by Yen Feng? What did it mean? At this moment, the old man's old voice came from the room. Honored guest, your identity is related to the secrets of the heavens. I can't say it out loud. Honored guest, please comprehend it on your own. Yun Shujo was stunned. Her identity? The moment she was stunned, the study room had already disappeared. It was as if everything from before was a dream. What surprised her even more was that the note in her hand had also turned into nothingness at the same time. Little Jiu, are you all right? Lan Luofang saw Yun Shujo appear out of thin air and asked with concern. Yun Shujo shook her head, but in her heart, she recalled the 4 sentences on the note. She had always been smart. With just a little thought, she had already guessed the 4 sentences. Each sentence was a word puzzle. When a single goose flew into the clouds in anger, the corresponding word for the single goose was human, while the corresponding word for the cloud was too. When it flew into the clouds, it meant that it did not have a head, and that was the word heaven. When the sun set in the west, the branches would be slanted. When the sun set in the west, it would naturally be the setting sun, and the corresponding word would be 11. When the branches were slanted, the corresponding word would be bow, and when the two combined, it would be the word outer. A pair of broken stars perched on a good tree. The broken stars corresponded to chi, and the word mu meant rice? No, the word one was specially mentioned earlier. That meant come. The world was full of miracles. Yun Bangui. This was simple. Yun Bangui was soul. Soul from the heavens? Yun Shujo thought to herself that this Yen Feng was quite capable. She had transmigrated here. Wouldn't that mean that she was a soul from the heavens? However, she vaguely felt that something was wrong. Although she had transmigrated here, wasn't she the ghost ancestor in her previous life? This was like going out and coming back. How could she be called an otherworldly soul? Thinking of this, Yun Shujo pursed her lips. This old fraud probably had a false name, making him sound so mysterious. In fact, his calculations were completely wrong. At this moment, everyone asked her what she should do next. She threw this matter to the back of her mind and treated it as if Yen Feng was deliberately mystifying things. Yun Shujo immediately led everyone out of the Celestial Master Mansion and continued to walk forward. Goei Batsao took advantage of the opportunity when Yun Shujo was studying the crossword puzzle and finally climbed onto her head. When this fellow heard Yun Shujo say the words extraterrestrial soul, Yi Zi trembled. She thought to herself, that old man still had some ability. Unfortunately, he was dead. From this point, it could be seen that the status of the people living on the 4th level was much higher than the people living on the 3rd level. An hour later, everyone saw the second house. The plaque said, Divine General Zhen Weiss Mansion. Presumably, this Divine General should be a position of the God clan. Yun Shujo and the others wanted to quickly reach the 5th level of the levitation layer, so they did not plan to go inside. Who would have thought that the door of the mansion would open automatically? A 30 feet tall giant in armor walked out from inside. He was holding a large saber that was flashing with cold light. Everyone was so scared that they stepped back. Who was this person? Could it be that Divine General Zhen Wei? How dare you trespass into this God General's residence? What crime should you commit? The loud roar made everyone's ears ring. Could this person really be God General Zhen Wei? Yun Shujo naturally didn't believe that this person was God General Zhen Wei. The Celestials in this place had already died a long time ago. How could there be God General Zhen Wei? At most, he was just like Yen Feng. It was just a remnant of his consciousness. Chapter 5061, Divine General Zhen Wei, Big Brother, we didn't even enter your residence. How can we be called intruders? Yun Shujo said with a chuckle. The giant was stunned for a moment, then he roared, this area of dozens of miles is my territory. You came in without informing us. Naturally, you are intruding. Yun Shujo blinked her eyes, before us, didn't anyone pass by here? The giant frowned and thought for a moment, then shook his head. No, I haven't seen any outsiders for a long time. Yun Shujo was puzzled. Mu Zian and the others should have reached the 4th level before them. How come the giant had never seen them before? While she was deep in thought, the giant said impatiently, cut the crap. You trespassed my mansion. Come here, let me chop off your heads. Yun Shujo felt that the giant's brain did not seem to be working well, so she came up with a bad idea. She smiled and said, Master General, actually, it was Celestial Master Yen who asked us to come here. Celestial Master Yen asked you to come here? That old thing is always talking nonsense. Why did he ask you to come here? The giant asked suspiciously. Hearing his words, Yun Shujo had a rough idea in her heart. This giant should be just a remnant of his consciousness. No wonder the people in the previous trial had only seen the 3rd level of levitation. It was likely that the Celestials above the 4th level had a higher cultivation level and left a remnant of their consciousness in it. That was why they had never appeared in the world. However, why did it appear this time? Lord Divine General, Heavenly Master Yen said that your divine skills are unrivaled and your battle achievements are outstanding. In a few days, you will be promoted to a rank. He asked us to come over and congratulate you in advance, Yun Shujo said with admiration. Although she had only heard a few words from this so-called mighty divine general, Yun Shujo could already tell that he was a person who was very happy with his achievements. Sure enough, hearing Yun Shuji's words, the giant laughed out loud. That old thing is not wrong this time. I will soon become a divine general. Lan Luofeng and the others were all dumbfounded. Was it really okay for this troublemaker to speak nonsense in a serious manner? The celestial race had already been exterminated for tens of thousands of years, and they still wanted to be promoted? It was purely a dream. Yun Shujo waited for the giant's laughter to subside before she asked with a smile, Divine General, no, Lord Commander, shouldn't you go to the Emperor Shen's pavilion to thank His Majesty for his kindness? The giant was stunned at first before he nodded. That's right. I should go and thank His Majesty for his kindness and appreciation of me. After saying that, the giant ignored Yun Shujo and the others and walked forward. Everyone was puzzled. How did little Jiao know about the Divine Emperor Pavilion? Could it be that the old man from the Celestial Master Mansion had said something to her? The giant walked very quickly. Yun Shujo and the others tried their best to keep up with him. Yun Shujo thought that this celestial race was indeed extraordinary. Just the remnant of his soul consciousness was so powerful. What kind of terrifying existence was this when he was alive? However, such a powerful celestial race was exterminated. The mastermind behind this was so terrifying that it was impossible to imagine. She didn't know if there were no wild beasts on the 4th level or if they were afraid of the giant's pressure. In short, they walked unimpeded all the way to the spiral stairs. Yun Shujo thought that the giant would climb up the stairs. However, she realized that the giant did not stop but continued to walk forward. Yun Shujo rolled her eyes and gestured for everyone to continue to follow. Chapter 50-62, Divine Emperor Pavilion. After walking for a while, the giant walked to a pavilion-like place and placed a jade token on it. Yun Shujo and the rest were astonished to discover that the pavilion had turned into a teleportation array formation. Seeing the giant walk in, Yun Shujo gritted her teeth and brought Lan Luofeng and the rest in as well. Yun Shujo cursed in her heart. It seemed like the teleportation array formation that Lan Luomu had was not reliable at all. There was a teleportation array formation here, but he had not discovered it. She had originally tricked the giant to pay a visit to Emperor Shen so that he could be used as cannon fodder and pass through a few levels smoothly. However, from the looks of it, they did not need to go through one level after another. This teleportation array most likely led to the 18th level. It was simply wonderful. The giant had a deep attachment to the so-called Divine Commander position. Hence, even when he saw Yun Shujo and the others following him, he turned a blind eye. A moment later, a white light flashed in front of her eyes. An extremely luxurious palace appeared in front of Yun Shujo. The words Divine Emperor Pavilion on the palace emitted a myriad of multicolored lights. Even though she had never seen many things before, it did not mean that she did not know what was good for her. Not to mention other things, just the stone slabs on the ground were enough to make everyone dumbfounded. The stone slabs were made of the same material as the pearls that were full of spiritual energy that they had discovered previously. It was simply too extravagant. Hei Shinjo felt a little itchy in her heart. My goodness, if I were to put all these stone slabs away, wouldn't I make a fortune? Fortunately, this fellow was greedy for money, so he still knew what was important and what was not. When he saw that the giant had already walked forward, he quickly followed. In almost an instant, the originally empty hall was filled with many shining divine weapons. They directly blocked Yun Shujo and the others from entering the hall. Lan Luofeng and the others were already trembling. If not for the fact that they still had a shred of rationality and knew that there were no living people here, they would have already knelt on the ground. Yun Shujia's expression was the same as usual. She stood on her tiptoes and looked into the hall, but she couldn't see anything clearly due to the fog. At this moment, a person who looked like an attendant walked out and said arrogantly, "His Majesty has ordered you to enter." Yun Shujiao nodded and immediately led Lan Luofang and the others into the Great Hall. Needless to say, the Great Hall was luxurious. What was even more amazing was that everyone's feet were surrounded by clouds and mist, making people feel as if they were floating in the air. An old man wearing a bright yellow dragon robe sat on an extremely luxurious throne in the front. He looked mighty even though he was not angry. Behind him stood several palace maids and attendants. Some of them were holding a palm fan, while others were holding a tray. No one knew what was on the tray. Yun Shujiao saw an old man in the middle on the left and could not help but shrink her eyes. It was actually Yen Feng. However, the way Yen Feng looked at her was no different from a stranger. However, what was going on? Just as Yun Shujiao was sizing him up, a servant shouted sternly, "How dare you? Why aren't you kneeling when you see His Majesty?" Lan Luofang and the others were already trembling. When they heard this, they immediately knelt on the ground, not even daring to raise their heads. They were intimidated by this pressure, and the last bit of clarity in their hearts no longer existed. They only thought that they had really met Emperor Shen. Yun Shujiao was not affected. She thought for a moment and understood. Everything in front of her was most likely formed from the remnant consciousness of Emperor Shen. This could also explain why Yen Feng did not recognize her. However, this Emperor Shen was not an ordinary person. Even his remnant consciousness was extremely terrifying. He had to think long and hard. Chapter 50-63. Zhang Qiqi had a son. Yun Shujiao thought that a wise man would not be at a disadvantage in front of him. Therefore, this fellow also knelt down. This fellow comforted himself in his heart. Anyway, the person in front of him was a dead person. He could just sweep his grave. What surprised Yun Shujiao was that the Emperor Shen said indifferently, "Although the ghost race has submitted to our celestial race, as the ghost ancestor, your status is equivalent to a divine venerate. Get up. Give me a seat." Just as the Emperor Shen said that, a servant moved a chair to the left and placed it on the first seat. Yun Shujiao did not know what the Emperor Shen was up to, but she still walked to the side of the seat and sat down. She thought of Lan Luofang and the others, but when she looked up, she found that Lan Luofang and the others had disappeared. Yun Shujiao did not panic. As the saying goes, when the army comes, the general will block it. When the water comes, the soil will cover it. She will counter every move. I believe you have guessed it as well. Right now, I am just a remnant of my divine sense, said Emperor Shen calmly. Yun Shujiao did not expect Emperor Shen to admit it so easily. For a moment, she did not know how to respond. Hence, she did not say anything. The celestial race was completely annihilated overnight. The supreme city became an empty city overnight. This is all fate. Yun Shujiao saw that the Emperor Shen's voice contained some desolation, but there was no sadness. She thought to herself that this Emperor Shen's character was quite tenacious. Emperor Shen continued, "Do you know why you were able to be reborn?" Yun Shujiao shook her head. She naturally did not know. "This is because I used the last remaining divine power to protect your divine soul and sent you to a different world," Emperor Shen said slowly. Yun Shujiao revealed a shocked and grateful expression, but she did not believe it in her heart. She was not related to this bullshit Emperor Shen, so how could he be so kind? He was lying to a ghost. Emperor Shen glanced at Yun Shujiao indifferently and said, "You may think that I am lying to you, but do you know that I deliberately sent a woman with the bloodline of the celestial race to a different world with you in order to protect you?" Yun Shujiao was stunned. What did he mean? Emperor Shen did not continue, as if he was waiting for Yun Shujiao to take the initiative to ask. Yun Shujiao thought for a moment and asked, "Who is the woman that your majesty is talking about?" Yin Shujia's pupils constricted slightly, and her two hands instantly clenched. She said somewhat obscurely, "The woman that your majesty is talking about is Yunqi?" "That's right. If not, why do you think Yunqi would risk her life to protect you?" "This is because I have left a mark in her spiritual sense. Her mission is to protect you," Emperor Shen said in a calm tone. Yin Shijia's expression froze. So it was just a mission? Then where is she now? But, is she okay? Regardless of whether it was a mission or a friendship, Chi was her best friend and a friend of life and death. When you were struck by the heavenly lightning, Yun Qi used the power of her bloodline to send you back here. Originally, she should have been teleported to the same place as you. However, due to the limited power of her bloodline, she arrived in the Tian Yuan continent a little later than you. What? Yin Qi is in the Tian Yuan continent? Yin Shujiu asked in surprise. She once stayed there for a short period of time. Now, she is in the Supreme City. Furthermore, she has given birth to a son, Emperor Shen said. Yin Shujiu was even more surprised. Son? Chi had a son? Wait a minute, if Emperor Shen said that Chi was in the Supreme City, would she be able to meet Chi? Chapter 50-64, Where's his father? Yin Shujiu felt as if she had forgotten something. However, her heart was filled with the desire to see Yun Qi, so she did not think too much about it. Your Majesty, can you let me see Yun Qi? Yin Shujiu pleaded. Of course. As soon as she finished speaking, the Emperor Shen waved his sleeves and a cold and refined woman walked in from outside the hall. Beside the woman was a little boy that looked to be 7 or 8 years old. When Yin Shujiu saw the little boy's appearance, she felt as if she had been struck by lightning. Damn, why did this little boy look so similar to a black chicken's head? When the woman saw Yin Shujiu, a hint of excitement appeared on her cold face. However, she still bowed respectfully and said, Yun Qi greets your majesty. The little boy beside her also bowed respectfully like a little adult. Emperor Shen's expression did not change. Instead, he said, the two of you have met again after such a long time. I believe you have a lot to say. Please leave first. I will summon the both of you in a few days. Yin Shujiu had a lot to say to Yun Qi. Hence, she gave a perfunctory bow and dragged Yun Qi out of the main hall. Just as she was about to say something, a palace maid said, Fairies, please follow this servant to the side hall to rest. After arriving at the side hall, Yin Shujiu sent the palace maid out and said impatiently, Chi, is it really you? Yin Qi's cold face showed a helpless expression. What do you think? Yin Shujiu chuckled, grabbed Yun Qi's hand, and said, I thought I was dreaming. Yin Shujiu had a belly full of words, but all of them turned into silly smiles. She felt that the originally empty part of her heart had been filled with happiness. After giggling foolishly for a long time, the fellow finally looked at the little boy next to him. Although the little boy had a face that looked very similar to Xue Wuji's, his expression was similar to Yun Qi's. It was clear and cold. Yin Shujiu was just about to stretch out her demonic claws to pinch the little boy's face, but the little boy immediately dodged to the side. His phoenix-like eyes were filled with some probing and vigilance. Yin Shujiu didn't succeed. She asked, Chi, is this kid your son? Why did you suddenly have such a big son? Where's his father? Yin Qi curled her lips. His father is too useless. He went to fight monsters to level up. Yin Shujiu, this guy stared at the little boy's face that resembled Xue Wuji's. Although he felt that it was impossible, he still asked, Chi, is your man called Xue Wuji? Yin Shujiu, this guy felt that his brain was not enough. Although she had once thought of pairing Yun Qi and Xue Wuji together, she felt that this wish was a little ridiculous and impossible to achieve. But now, she was telling her that not only did Xue Wuji and Chi really become a couple, but their son could also be a bystander? Fuck. Did it have to be so exciting? Yun Shujo was stunned for a while before she asked, Chi, how did you and Wu Jis heads get together? Yun Chi froze when she heard the words Wu Jis head. Then, she said faintly, he raped me. Then, I felt that he was pretty good looking and raped him instead. Yun Shujo, what the hell? Black Chicken Head raped 7-7, and then 7 raped him? These two people really knew how to play. This guy instantly thought of her. Damn it, she and the gigolo didn't even get to have sex, but Black Chicken Head and 7-7's son could even play along. It was too embarrassing. Chapter 5065 gave a big gift to Roy Air. The more Yun Shujo thought about it, the more she felt that she was really stifled. Not to mention her son, she hadn't even gotten a gigolo yet. It was strange. When did Wu Jis head hook up with Chi? She actually didn't notice it at all. That wasn't right. It seemed that once he came to Tianyuan Academy to visit her and stayed in Tianyuan City for a long time. During that period of time, he even asked her how she would react if a woman was raped. Fuck. It turned out that he had raped Chi at that time. This damned black-headed chicken. No, Chi said that she had raped black-headed chicken instead. Now that she thought back, black-headed chicken had indeed behaved like a little wife who had been abandoned. This damned black-headed chicken. If she had told her earlier, she would have been able to see Chi earlier. Chi, does Wu Ji know that he has a son? Hei Shinjo thought wickedly. If Shua Wuji did not know, she could have teased him. Yun Chi guessed Yun Chujia's thoughts and nodded. Then, she changed the topic. Little Joe, how have you been these years? Yun Shujo was stunned. Then, she nodded vigorously. Good, very good. At this point, tears flowed out of her eyes. She then smiled and said, it's even better now. I thought that I would only be able to see you after I became a god. I didn't expect to see you now. Moreover, you and Wu Jis heads have become a pair. This is really great. Yun Chi's clear and cold eyes were slightly moist. Hello, I'm good. I'm good. Roy Air, come over and greet your little Antio. Hearing this, Roy Air bowed respectfully, but he did not walk over. Apparently, he was still guarding against Hei Xinjia's demonic claws. Hei Shinjo did not mind it. She searched the storage ring, trying to find something good to give to Roy Er as a greeting gift. However, for some reason, she felt that the storage ring was hazy, but she could not find anything. She laughed dryly. There's something wrong with my storage ring. I'll give you a gift when it's back to normal. Don't worry, I'm very generous. Yun Chi rolled her eyes and said indifferently, if you're generous, I'm afraid it'll rain red in the sky. Yun Shujo was slapped and said with her hands on her hips, all right. Then I'll give Roy Air a big gift. If the pretty boy and I give birth to a daughter, how about being Roy Air's wife? However, Yun Chi chuckled and said, all right, it's a deal. Roy Air looked at his mother speechlessly. Was it really good to trick his son like this? When Yun Shujo saw that Yun Chi had agreed, she smiled so happily that her eyelashes were about to blossom. She was secretly pleased. This brat Roy Er looked very good. Her daughter had already won at the starting line. She was simply a winner in life. Yun Shujo and Yun Chi seemed to have endless things to talk about. Yun Shujo wanted to ask Yun Chi about her experiences over the years, but a palace maid came over and said that the Emperor Shen wanted to meet the two of them. Yun Shujo was puzzled. Didn't they say that they would meet again in a few days? It seemed like only half a day had passed. However, this question quickly disappeared, as if she had never had this thought. Yun Shujo, Yun Chi, and Roy Er once again went to the Divine Hall. This time, the Emperor Shen did not give Yun Shujo a seat. Yun Shujo, I believe you believe what I said before, right? The Emperor Shen said indifferently. Chapter 5066. Yun Qi's blood. Yun Shujo felt dizzy for a moment. She nodded subconsciously and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty, for letting me reunite with Qi." Hearing this, a faint light flashed in Emperor Shen's eyes. He said, "You don't have to be so polite. I originally planned to summon you in a few days, but I suddenly remembered something, so I summoned you here." Yun Qi frowned and asked, "What did Your Majesty think of?" Emperor Shen sighed. "I suddenly remembered that the Lord also suffered a serious injury that day, so he is still suffering from the cold poison. Now, I have found a way to cure him." Hearing this, Yun Shujo was immediately delighted. She asked, "What is it?" "Yun Qi has the celestial bloodline. You just need to let the Lord consume Yun Qi's blood. Don't worry, you don't need too much. Just a small porcelain bottle will do," Emperor Shen said slowly. Yun Shujo was stunned. "Yun Qi's blood? Little Jiu, do you want to save him? If you want, I'll give you his blood. It's just a small porcelain bottle anyway." "It won't be a problem," Yun Qi said. Yun Shujo thought for a moment. It was just a small porcelain bottle anyway, so there was no problem. Therefore, she nodded. Qi, thank you so much. Don't worry, I'll make the gigolo repay you properly." Yun Qi nodded. She immediately cut her index finger and received a porcelain bottle of fresh blood. Yun Shujo was about to put the porcelain bottle into her storage ring when Emperor Shen said, "The divine power in your bloodline is disappearing very quickly. You must immediately feed the blood to the Lord." Hearing this, Yun Shujo immediately reached into her sleeve pocket and pulled out the small silver snake. When Yun Shujo saw that the small silver snake's vertical pupils were tightly shut, she could not help but be shocked. "Prince Charming, what happened to you?" Emperor Shen said with slight anxiety, "The cold poison has acted up again. Quickly feed him the blood so that his injuries do not worsen." Yun Shujo immediately opened the cork of the porcelain bottle. On the throne, Emperor Shen's face was filled with anticipation and anxiety. There was even a hint of complacency. However, he saw Yun Shujo put the stopper back on. "Yun Shujo, why are you not feeding the blood to the Lord?" Emperor Shen urged. Yun Qi, who was at the side, also said, "That's right. Little Jiu, quickly feed the blood to the Lord. Once his body recovers, the two of you will be able to get married and have children." Yun Shujo put the small silver snake back into her sleeve pocket and then fixed her gaze on Yun Qi. Yun Qi was a little scared by her stare. "Little Jiu, what's wrong with you? Don't you want to quickly cure the Lord's cold poison?" Shengzun asked. Yun Shujo glanced at her a few more times, then looked at Roy Er, who had always been very obedient. Finally, her gaze fell on Emperor Shen. "Where did you take the real Qi and Roy Er?" Yun Shujo stared at Emperor Shen and asked coldly. Emperor Shen frowned slightly. "Yun Shujo, what do you mean by this?" Yun Shujo pinched her palm with her fingernails so that she could remain clear-headed. She said coldly, "Yun Qi never talks so much. Moreover, that little brat's gaze isn't right either. The reason why you couldn't wait to call me over is because you want to swap the real Qi and her son, right? Tell me, where are they? Otherwise, I'll kill you." Emperor Shen sneered. Good. As expected of the former ghost ancestor. You're indeed smarter than others. It's just that it's too late for you to understand. The time limit for the teleportation barrier has passed. You and Di Bei Ming can stay in this supreme city forever. Chapter 5067. The illusionary realm of drinking poison to quench thirst. As soon as Emperor Shen's voice fell, his entire person disappeared. An intense pain came from Yin Shijia's Dantian. Her entire person suddenly became clear-headed. Only then did Yunchujo realize that there was no fake Yunqi and her mother by her side. Instead, it was the muddle-headed Lan Luoyen and the others. They were still in the Great Hall at this moment. However, the Great Hall was already empty. Yunchujo was stunned for a moment. The first thing she did was to look at the small silver snake in her sleeve. When she saw that the small silver snake's vertical pupils were closed, her heart tightened. She stretched out her hand to check for breath. When she saw that the breath was still normal, she heaved a sigh of relief. She looked at the porcelain bottle in her hand. She did not open the cork but kept it in her storage ring. After she was freed, she would let Go Weiba analyze the ingredients in the bottle. Perhaps it would be able to solve the mystery of the cold poison in Di Baiming's body. Yunchujo laughed bitterly. Even though Yen Feng warned her not to trust others, she was still tricked. Chi was a hole in her heart. Even if there was a tiny possibility, she did not want to miss it. It was because her obsession was too strong. Even the pain caused by the black bead did not wake her up. In other words, she was addicted to the illusion of drinking poison to quench her thirst. She was satisfied to be able to see Chi, talk to her, and know if she was doing well. However, the illusion was too real. She couldn't find any flaws in it. What was going on? At the same time, in a bedroom, a cold-looking woman opened her eyes. She was dazed for a moment, then jumped up from the bed and called out in fear, "Roy-er! Roy-er! Mother!" A confused child's voice came from the side room. The woman closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Then, she rushed to the next room. On the bed sat a 7 or 8-year-old little boy. The little boy's features were like a painting, especially his phoenix eyes. Even though he was still young, he was still so stunning that people could not take their eyes off him. The woman nervously checked the little boy. When she saw that he was fine, she heaved a sigh of relief. It was rare for the little boy to see a woman so nervous. He then recalled the dream he had just had. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "Mother, I had a dream just now." The woman was startled. "What dream?" "We seem to have arrived at a palace. There's Emperor Shen and many palace maids. Oh right, there's also a, somewhat strange woman. You asked me to call her little ninth aunt." When the woman heard the little boy's description, her expression became more and more solemn. Why did she and Roy-er have the same dream? The little boy omitted the matter of that strange aunt wanting to give her daughter to him as his wife. That aunt was so strange. He did not want that kind of wife. After the little boy finished speaking, he saw the woman's solemn expression and asked somewhat uneasily, "Mother, what's wrong?" The woman was different from ordinary parents. She had always treated the little boy as an equal, so she did not hide anything and said, "Mother, and you had the same dream." The little boy was stunned. "Mother, is there something wrong?" The woman nodded slightly. "No one in the world would have the same dream. Moreover, we had the same dream at the same time." The little boy's exquisite little face turned solemn. "Mother, then do you really know little Aunt Jo? Is there really such a person as little Aunt Jo?" The woman nodded. "Of course. Mother's only relative is your little Aunt Jo." Chapter 5068. Is little Aunt Jo really that smart? A hint of worry appeared in the little boy's phoenix-like eyes. "Mother, since this dream is a little inappropriate, could little Aunt Jo really be trapped in that palace? Will anything happen to little Aunt Jo?" The woman was not surprised by her son's intelligence. After a moment of silence, she said, "Even if your little Aunt Jo is really trapped inside, she will be able to escape safely." The little boy asked in puzzlement, "Why is that?" A smile appeared on the woman's cold face. "Because your little ninth aunt is the smartest person in the world. She will think of a way to resolve it." When the little boy heard this, he did not believe it. That little ninth aunt was strange. Could she really be that smart? The woman seemed to see through the little boy's thoughts and said softly, do you think that mother is exaggerating? The little boy's face flushed red and said uneasily, Mother, is that little Aunt Jo really that smart? The woman chuckled and did not say anything, her thoughts drifting away. When little Jo had just been brought back by the people from the organization, she was only 6 years old, 2 or 3 years younger than her companions. In addition, she was a little beggar before, thin and small. Everyone wondered how such a good-for-nothing could be chosen. Naturally, everyone despised and ostracized her. In addition to the fact that it was a hell that ate people without spitting out their bones, everyone thought that she would be the first to die. However, in just a year, Xiaojiu, who was only 7 years old, had become the leader of their group and finally became her partner. Seeing that his mother did not speak, the little boy thought for a moment and asked, Mother, Aunt Xiaojiu said that she knows father. Is that true? The girl's thoughts were interrupted by the little boy's words. When she heard him mention Shui Wuji, she could not help but be startled. Then, she said, if we have the chance to see that unreliable father of yours again, we will ask him and we will know. The little boy's face appeared a little unnatural, but he still asked, Mother, when will we be able to see father again? The girl's cold face also revealed a little discomfort. When your father becomes stronger after killing monsters, we will naturally be able to see him. The little boy was used to his mother's odd words. He mumbled, Father is so stupid. The woman, He Xinjiu, who was missed by the mother and son, sneezed, achoo. Is Chi-Chi talking about me? I wondered if what I saw before was real. Forget it. Well, find out after we go out and ask Wuji's head. Yun Chuzhou mumbled before splashing water on Lan Luofang and the others to wake them up. Lan Luofang and the others had confused looks on their faces. What happened? Their memories were still stuck at the moment they saw Emperor Shen. After that, everything went blank. Lan Luomu took out a spirit tool that could show the date and time. Then, he widened his eyes in horror. No, that's impossible. We were only unconscious for a while. How could so many days have passed? Lan Luofang and the others were immediately shocked and they heard that. They moved closer to Lan Luomu to take a look, and were instantly dumbfounded. Could it be that there's something wrong with your spirit tool? We clearly only fell asleep for a short while. Lan Luoyen said, unwilling to give up. The others also agreed. If so many days had really passed, then wouldn't they have already missed the teleportation barrier? Wouldn't that mean they would be stuck here forever? No, that was absolutely impossible. There must be something wrong with the spiritual artifact. Chapter 5069, Emperor Shen Yinchuzhou sighed. The spirit weapon did not make a mistake. We have indeed missed the teleportation barrier. The reason why Yinchuzhou was so certain was that she had asked the dumb cuties and even asked the black bead for confirmation. The black bead would not be affected by the illusion. If she had not been too obsessed, she would not have been tricked by Emperor Shen. Even though the black bead had warned her, she was still immersed in the illusion of drinking poison to quench her thirst. The black bead was afraid that it would damage her dantian, so she did not dare to go overboard. When everyone heard Yun Chujia's words, they immediately sat down on the ground. It was over. They were going to be trapped in this supreme city. Yun Chuzhou thought for a moment. If she wanted to get out, the breakthrough would undoubtedly be on that Emperor Shen. She naturally did not believe what Emperor Shen had said to her in the illusory realm. That old thing obviously did not have any good intentions. She blinked her eyes and shouted with her hands on her waist, Emperor Shen, come out. A dignified Emperor Shen actually used such a lowly method to trap us. Is this a distortion of divinity or a depravity of morality? Just as Yun Chuzhou finished her sentence, a shadow appeared on the dragon throne. It was the Emperor Shen. Yun Chuzhou, you brought this upon yourself. If you had fed the medicine to Di Biming as I said, you would have already left this place. The Emperor Shen sneered. To think that you would say such a thing? That is my fiancé. Why would I harm him? I don't understand. You only have a strand of divine sense left. Why would you want to kill him? Yin Shujo asked in confusion. Emperor Shen sighed. The medicine I gave you was not to kill him, but to strengthen his seal. Once his seal is strengthened, the cold poison will naturally be reduced. Although you and Di Biming were lovers in your previous life, there is a deep hatred between you. Once he unseals all the seals, it will be too late for you to regret. I am also helping you. Why don't you pour the medicine down his throat right now and everyone will be happy? Wouldn't that be great? Yin Shujo looked deeply at Emperor Shen. Your Majesty, Emperor Shen, do you think I am a fool? Emperor Shen was suddenly angered from embarrassment. What I am saying to you is all good advice. If you don't listen, I have no other choice. Then you can just die here. Yin Shujo laughed crisply. Your Majesty, Emperor Shen, I originally thought that you are a drifter now. There are some things that are hard to say, but you can't treat me as a fool, right? If you really had good intentions, why didn't you tell me openly? Why did you make me fall into an illusion and make up such a lie? Furthermore, if you were really that smart, your celestial race wouldn't have all died. This supreme city wouldn't have become an empty city. Emperor Shen was so angry that he was trembling. Good, very good. You are indeed sharp-tongued. Aren't you afraid that I will kill Yun Qi and her son? Yun Shujo sneered. If you really had that ability, you would have done it long ago. Why would you need to spend so much effort to set up an illusion array? Although I don't know how you did it, you won't have a second chance. When Yun Shujo said this, killing intent suddenly rose. Lan Luofang and the others could not help but tremble. Yin Shujo, I can't be bothered to waste my breath on you. No matter how smart you are, no matter how sharp-tongued you are, you can only be trapped here. The moment Emperor Shen's voice fell, the phantom disappeared. Yin Shujo did not obtain much useful information from this conversation. Hence, she said, Emperor Shen, why are you in such a hurry to run? Come out, I have something to ask you. Chapter 50-70, You are really naive. Yun Shujo shouted a few times, but Emperor Shen did not come out again. Yun Shujo rolled her eyes and shouted, Emperor Shen, I think what you said makes sense. As long as I pour the medicine into the pretty boy, you will send us out? You are not lying to us? Of course it's true. Jun Wu is not joking. Emperor Shen's figure appeared again. How do I know that you're not lying to me? The teleportation barrier has already been closed. How can you send us out? Yin Shujo asked suspiciously. I naturally have my ways. You just need to do as I say. Emperor Shen said somewhat impatiently. Yin Shujia's eyes flashed and she said with her hands on her hips, all right, if you don't keep your word, then you're just an old bastard. Emperor Shen gritted his teeth, but he endured it and did not say a word. Yin Shujo took out a porcelain bottle from her storage ring and a small silver snake from her sleeve pocket. Just as she was about to pour the medicine into the porcelain bottle, Emperor Shen suddenly said, wait, throw the porcelain bottle on the ground and drink this bottle of medicine. Yin Shujo curled her lips. It's really troublesome. Even though she said that, she still threw the porcelain bottle aside and picked up the porcelain bottle that Emperor Shen threw over. Sigh. Pretty boy, there's nothing I can do. As the saying goes, husband and wife are birds in the same forest. When disaster strikes, they fly separately. I can't do anything about it. Don't blame me. Pretty boy, I was forced to do this. Don't blame me. Pretty boy, don't worry. Even if you become a fool after drinking the medicine, I will take care of you for the rest of your life. There was a hint of mockery in Emperor Shen's eyes. Everyone was selfish. Didn't Yun Shujo say so much just to find an excuse for herself? Finally, Yun Shujo stopped blabbering. She opened the bottle stopper and poured the medicine into the small silver snake's mouth. Yun Shujo put the small silver snake back into her sleeve pocket and said, "Can you let us out now?" Emperor Shen laughed out loud. "Yun Shujo, you are really smart and muddle-headed. Do you think I will let you go?" Yun Shujo took 2 steps back in disbelief. You lied to me?" Emperor Shen laughed for a while more before saying, "Yun Shujo, you are really naive." Yun Shujo was so angry that she was twitching. "You, the dignified Emperor Shen, actually did not keep your word. Do you still have any face? Also, what kind of medicine did you ask me to give the gigolo?" "Naturally, it's a medicine that will take his life. As long as he dies, our celestial race will be resurrected, and our celestial race will return to its former glory," Emperor Shen said somewhat crazily. Yun Shuji's heart shook. What did he mean? What did he mean by the death of the gigolo and the celestial race will be resurrected? She did not have the time to think about it. The most important thing now was to deal with this cunning and ruthless Emperor Shen. She looked as if she had suffered a huge blow as she shouted, "You're shameless. Too shameless. As the Emperor Shen, you actually lied to me. Actually, you have no way to send us out, right? What about those people who came in with us? Were they also killed by you?" Emperor Shen seemed to enjoy seeing Yun Shuji's defeated look. He said proudly, "Those people have already used the teleportation barrier to leave. You probably don't know about it, right? The teleportation array was set up on the 4th level, inside the Zhenwei Divine General's residence. I used a little trick to trick all of you to come here. If not, do you think that the 4th level will have an array that leads directly to the Divine Emperor Pavilion? Haha. You have always claimed to be smart, but in reality, you are only a so-so." Chapter 5071 Dream Entry Technique. When Yun Shujo heard this, she looked as though she had suffered a huge blow. She was somewhat vexed. That's right, she had been careless. She did not even think about it. That Zhenwei Divine General's rank was not high. How could he have a token that could lead straight to the Divine Emperor Pavilion? However, she had placed too much trust in the spirit weapon in Lan Luma's hands. It must have been done by the Emperor Shen that caused the spirit weapon to malfunction. When the Emperor Shen saw Yun Shuji's dejected look, he felt very relieved. He continued, "If you had not arrived here, I would not have been able to make Di Biming fall into a deep sleep. Therefore, all of this was caused by your stupidity." Humph. The rumors that the ghost ancestor's wisdom is stronger than the gods were just rumors. Yun Shujo smiled bitterly. "I was indeed too stupid. I admit defeat. However, why did you let those people out? Wouldn't it be better to just trap them here?" Emperor Shen snorted coldly. "Letting them out will make the people outside lower their guard and think that there is nothing unusual about this supreme city. To avoid attracting unnecessary trouble. After all, it was not easy for me to get this opportunity, so I naturally have to be careful." Yun Shujo nodded. Emperor Shen is indeed Emperor Shen. He is actually so meticulous. However, you probably have no way to teleport us out, right? After all, if you had such a method, you wouldn't be trapped here forever. Humph. Of course, I have a way to teleport all of you out. Right now, I am only a wisp of spiritual sense. If I leave this place, it will completely dissipate, so I don't dare to leave this place. However, I can be revived very soon. This 3,000 large and small continents will be mine again. Ha ha ha. Emperor Shen laughed crazily. I don't believe it. If you really have a way to teleport us out, why does Supreme City only open once every 30 years? You must be exaggerating. In reality, you don't have much divine power left. Yun Shujo shook her head and said. That's right. In order to design all of this, I have exhausted all of my divine power. However, this supreme city has a teleportation array that leads to the outside world. As long as it is activated, I will naturally be able to do it. However, I have no intention of letting you guys go, so you can give up on this idea. However, don't worry, I will not kill you. After my divine power recovers, I will use my divine power to unlock your seal and then read your memories. After all, everyone knows that the ghost ancestor is rich. The treasures that you have hidden are all mine. Ha ha ha. Yun Shujo was so angry that her face turned red. You are shameless. You are shameless. I know now. That teleportation array was prepared for you to use after your resurrection. Am I right? Emperor Shen snorted coldly. You are finally smart. That's right. After my resurrection, I do not have the patience to wait for 30 years. I can directly exit that teleportation array. Yun Shujo asked in puzzlement, Emperor Shen, I heard that the celestial race can tear through the void. Since that's the case, why do you still want to set up a teleportation array here? Emperor Shen snorted coldly. There are countless things that people spread rumors about. Although our celestial race can tear through the void, there are many restrictions. Furthermore, the location of this supreme city is quite special. In addition, after I resurrect, my divine power will definitely be very weak. Naturally, it will be difficult for me to use the void technique. Then what about the 77th mother and son that I saw when I fell into the illusion? Yun Shujo asked. Emperor Shen was now very pleased with himself, but he still had a little bit of pride in him. He said, this is the dreamland art. Although it has consumed a lot of my divine power, no matter what, it is still worth it to trap you here. Chapter 50-72, Just wait for your resurrection. Yun Shujo was delighted when she heard Emperor Shen's words. In that case, the Qi and Rui air that she had seen were both real. That was great. As long as Qi and she were on the same plane, she would definitely have a way to find Qi. It had to be said that this idiot Xue Wuji was really blessed. He had actually flirted with Qi and even had an elder son. Yun Shujo suppressed the joy in her heart and continued to deal with Emperor Shen. So it's the dream entering technique. The celestial race really lives up to its reputation. Emperor Shen said proudly, of course. When the celestial race was at its peak, there was no force in this world that could contend with our celestial race. If it wasn't for the fact that I only had a remnant of my spiritual sense, it wouldn't have been difficult to capture that mother and son to Supreme City. Oh. Why have I heard that the demon race isn't weak? Yun Shujo said indifferently. Demon race? Humph. They are just a bunch of crooks. How can they be compared to my celestial race? Emperor Shen said disdainfully. Yun Shujo did not argue with him. Instead, she changed the topic. I was indeed one step behind this time. It was just my carelessness. Let me guess where the teleportation array will be set up. I feel that there is a high chance that it will be in the Divine Emperor Pavilion. Furthermore, it will be in this great hall. Am I right? When Yun Shujo said this, she stared intently into Emperor Shen's eyes, not missing a single change. When she saw Emperor Shen's pupils suddenly constrict, she had a guess in her heart. It seemed that she was right. Emperor Shen snorted coldly. You want to find out the location of the teleportation array? Dream on. Yun Shujo could not be bothered to put on an act anymore. She sneered, Emperor Shen, it doesn't matter if you don't say it. I'll find it myself. I don't believe that I can't find it. Emperor Shen said coldly, I can be resurrected immediately. Do you think you still have a chance to find the teleportation array? Yun Shujo shrugged her shoulders, old bastard, then just wait for your resurrection. What do you mean? Emperor Shen had an ominous premonition in his heart. Isn't the literal meaning that you're smart? Slowly understand it yourself. Yun Shujo said indifferently. The ominous premonition in Emperor Shen's heart was even greater. He asked in a slightly flustered manner, You didn't feed the poison to Di Biming? No. Impossible. I personally saw you feed the medicinal liquid in the porcelain bottle to him. Yun Shujo completely ignored him. Instead, she sized up the Grand Hall's layout. The Grand Hall's layout was very luxurious. However, where was the teleportation array hidden? Yun Shujo said to Lan Luofeng and the others, that old bastard's divine power has almost been used up. There's no need to be afraid of him. Everyone, look for it. This teleportation array is definitely in this Grand Hall. Lan Luofeng and the others were already dumbfounded. They felt that their brains were no longer sufficient. What ghost ancestor, Di Biming, the celestial race, Chi-Chi, what kind of nonsense was this? Lan Luofeng asked weakly, Little Joe, will that Emperor Shen really not do anything to us? Don't worry. I didn't see his figure getting fainter and fainter. If he still had the ability, he would have long subdued us. He's just a paper tiger, Yun Shujo said disdainfully. The reason why she had been dealing with him for so long was firstly to get information from him. Secondly, she wanted to confirm her judgment. From the looks of it, he was already at the end of his rope and had no other means. Seeing that he had no signs of revival, Emperor Shen then heard Yun Shuji's words and shouted in panic, Yun Shujo, are you lying to me? How did you do it? Yun Shujo curled the corner of her lips. Guess. Chapter 5073, Are you really that stupid? Emperor Shen was so angry that he nearly vomited blood. If he could guess it, why would he ask her? Yun Shujo ignored him and treated him as a decoration. Emperor Shen was so angry that he could not care about his dignity anymore. He was unwilling to accept this. He had used almost all of his remaining divine power to set up such a trap. In the end, he did not even know how he failed. One could imagine how aggrieved he was. Yun Shujo, tell me, what did you do? I watched you pour poison into Di Biming, but why is he still alive? Yun Shujo originally did not want to bother with him, but she recalled that Di Biming had once told her that he would not die. Then, the question was, why was the Emperor Shen so sure that the gigolo would die if he drank the poison? Could it be that someone had misled him? Yun Shujo thought of this and sighed, Emperor Shen, I did feed him the poison you gave me, but I don't know why he did not die. I feel that there is something wrong with your poison. After all, the gigolo is the reincarnation of Shengzun. Normal poison would not be able to kill him. The Emperor Shen was stunned before he shook his head, impossible. As long as he drinks the poison, he will die. I can be revived. The celestial race can prosper. Why are you so sure? Where did that poison come from? Yun Shujo asked. Emperor Shen was in a daze. Where did the poison come from? That's right, how did I get this medicine? Emperor Shen suddenly covered his head and said repeatedly, as long as he drinks that poison, he will die. I will be able to revive. The celestial race will prosper. As long as he drinks the poison, he will die. I will be able to revive. The celestial race will prosper. Yun Shujo was speechless. Was this Emperor Shen crazy? Her expression suddenly turned cold. She remembered that Yen Feng and the others had left a mark on their spiritual senses. This Emperor Shen was probably the same. Could it be that this was a trap? In fact, Emperor Shen was just someone's chess piece. Yun Shijia's first thought was the Divine Devil Hall. Who was the master of this Divine Devil Hall? To think that even Emperor Shen could be toyed with? Fortunately, the porcelain bottle that Emperor Shen had given her looked almost the same as the ancient green jade bottle in her storage ring. Only then did she take the opportunity to switch the porcelain bottle. As she was holding the porcelain bottle with her hand and using her sleeve to cover it, Emperor Shen did not see any flaws. Yun Shujo did not have the time to think about it. It was better to find the exit first. Otherwise, the person behind it might have other tricks up his sleeve. At this moment, Lan Luofang and the rest had already rummaged through the hall for a while, but they did not find anything. Yun Shujia's gaze landed on the dragon throne where Emperor Shen was sitting. Hence, she walked towards Emperor Shen. When Emperor Shen saw Yun Shujio walking over, his scattered gaze turned fierce. It's all because of you. If it wasn't for you, I would have been able to revive and the celestial race would have prospered. I want to kill you. Yun Shujio sneered. Emperor Shen, don't you understand that you have been used by others? You are truly pathetic. Not only did you destroy the celestial race, you even ended up becoming a pawn of your enemy. You are spouting nonsense. I don't understand what you are saying. You deserve to die. Emperor Shen said with a ferocious expression. I am spouting nonsense? Don't you think about it? You have been dead for tens of thousands of years. Why do you only have such a thought now? Let's not talk about other things. Where did the poison come from? Who told you about Qi? No matter what, the celestial race was once an expert in this world and had supreme glory. As the Emperor Shen, are you really so stupid? Chapter 50-74 The Ghost Ancestor was indeed the ghost ancestor under the intense gaze of Yun Shujio. The Emperor Shen could not help but be stunned when he heard what she said. Even if he was just a wisp of divine sense, even if there was something wrong with his divine sense, as the former Emperor Shen, he knew that what Yun Shujio said was the truth. He had been used by someone. What was laughable was that he was muddle-headed and did not know who had used him. It was as though the thought of killing Di Biming will bring him back to life, and the celestial race will prosper, came naturally. The poison also appeared out of thin air. When Yun Shujio saw that he had regained his calmness, she said, Emperor Shen, you should know that even if you kill Di Biming, you will not come back to life. The celestial race will not return to their former prosperity. All of this is just a scam. Furthermore, if I'm not wrong, the stray beasts on the streets and floating layers should be formed from the remnant consciousness of the Celestials. The Celestials of the past have turned into ugly and ferocious stray beasts. It's really a pity. Therefore, even if the so-called resurrection is true, those Celestials who are resurrected will not be the Celestials but a bunch of monsters. Since there was still a remnant of the divine consciousness left behind by Emperor Shen, the other Celestials should also have a remnant of the divine consciousness. However, other than Yen Feng, Yun Shujio did not meet any of them. Furthermore, there were no corpses after the beasts died. Only the Wanzhu, which could calm the mind, was left behind. That was why there was such a guess. Confusion, shock, and anger flashed across Emperor Shen's face one after another. His figure became even fainter as he said sorrowfully, I, Qiong Huang, am an honorable Emperor Shen. Not only was the celestial race exterminated by my hands, but I was even toyed with by others in the end. I have let down the ancestors of the celestial race. I deserve to die. Yun Shujio thought to herself, deserve to die? You cannot be any more dead, all right? After a long while, Emperor Shen said, the ghost ancestor is indeed the ghost ancestor. I admit defeat. He Xinjiu sighed. What do you mean, we are not at a disadvantage? We have all been played by others. It's only a matter of time. The Emperor Shen said with a bitter smile, no. Although we were fooled as well, at least you were able to wake up in time. I, on the other hand, refuse to do so. The Emperor Shen paused for a moment before he said, my spiritual perception has been tampered with. There are many things that I cannot say even if I have thoughts in my heart. However, there is one thing that you should know. The person behind the scenes wants Di Biming dead. Yun Shujio nodded. This point was right. The poor gigolo was being chased by people all day long. Furthermore, he had to endure the pain of the cold poison. She did not know which bastard wanted to kill him. When Emperor Shen saw Yun Shujio nod, he continued, the person behind the scenes clearly has terrifying strength. Even someone as strong as my celestial race has suffered the calamity of extermination. Yun Shujo gritted her teeth and said, you know about the Divine Devil Hall, right? I think that the person behind this should be that dog shit master of the Divine Devil Hall. It's just that I haven't been able to find his lair. Otherwise, I would have to think of a way to kill him. The Emperor Shen seemed to want to say something, but because his divine sense had been imprinted, he could not say anything. After all, the Emperor Shen was the Emperor Shen. Even though he was only a remnant of his consciousness, he still thought of a way to bypass the divine sense imprint. Hence, he said, your seal hasn't been unsealed, and the world doesn't know about some things. I'll tell you some things that I know. I believe that with your intelligence, you'll definitely gain something in the future. Although the era we're in is called the Ancient Era, it's actually the last generation of the Ancient Era. Chapter 5075 was getting more and more interesting. Yun Shujia's eyes flashed. Meng Yanshou had previously told her about the first generation of the Ancient Era, the middle generation of the Ancient Era, and the last generation of the Ancient Era. However, its knowledge was limited and its words were very vague. Could it be that there was some big secret behind this? Emperor Shen continued, when the Hun Dun was first created, there was only one continent in this world. It was called the Great Wilderness. At that time, there were no races like gods and demons. There were only some mysterious species that had gone extinct. As it was a long time ago, no one knew what exactly existed at that time. At this moment, Emperor Shen's figure became fainter. Hence, he heaved a sigh of relief before continuing, after the Great Wilderness, an unknown change happened. The continent was split into two. This was the Mesozoic era. Tens of thousands of years later, the two continents suddenly began to break apart, turning into several continents with different levels of spiritual power. This is the last generation. Then came the war between the gods and demons. After the celestial race and the demon race demarcated their territories, they lived peacefully for tens of thousands of years. Then, the celestial race was destroyed. At this point, Emperor Shen's expression became extremely pained. He wanted to say something, but because of the mark in his spiritual sense, he didn't say anything in the end. Seeing this, Yun Shujo hurriedly asked, I roughly know what happened after that. There's no need for you to say anything else. Is this what you want to tell me? Emperor Shen slowly said, in the various records, there's nothing about the ancient and Mesozoic era. In fact, our celestial race has a small amount of records regarding this. Yun Shujia's eyes widened. She had a vague feeling that she was about to discover a huge secret. Emperor Shen was about to say something when he let out a miserable cry. It turned out that although he had thought of a way to bypass the spiritual perception mark, he had still triggered the spiritual perception mark. He said with difficulty, I have triggered the spiritual perception mark. It will disappear completely soon. The teleportation array is under the dragon throne. You only need to put in the God Spirit Pearl to activate it. In addition, I have another request. Yun Shi, before Emperor Shen could speak, his figure completely disappeared and turned into nothingness. Yun Shujo was speechless. This half-sentence was the most deceitful. What exactly did he want to say about Yun Shi? At this moment, the palace trembled violently, and everyone couldn't help but panic. Yun Shujo didn't dare to be negligent. She quickly ordered everyone to move the dragon chair away. As expected, an array disc was found under the dragon chair. However, what the hell was the god's spiritual pearl? Lan Luofang said, Little Jiu, didn't we find 2 beads in the ruins of the stairs? That should be the god's spiritual pearl. Yun Shujo laughed bitterly. Her mind was in a mess now. She was really smart for a moment, but she actually forgot about this. Yun Shujo immediately took out one of the beads and placed it in the array plate. Immediately, a barrier with spirit energy ripples appeared in front of everyone. Everyone was overjoyed and quickly walked in. A blinding light flashed, and Yun Shujo and the others disappeared from where they were. After Yun Shujo and the others disappeared, a miniature Goei Batsao jumped out from a corner. Goei Bakeo's color was already very dim. When it entered the palace, it was originally on Yun Shujia's hair. However, when the Emperor Shin used the Dreamland technique, the Goei Batsao was sent flying by the Emperor Shin's divine power. After all, this fellow was only a small treasury of Guai Chao. Therefore, he did not dare to overestimate himself by jumping forward. He only hid in a corner and watched. As time passed, it had almost dissipated. Therefore, it did not move closer to Yun Shujo to avoid being discovered. It recalled what the Emperor Shen had said. The leaves trembled. Things were getting more and more interesting. Chapter 5076. Our Lan family is number 1. Yun Shujo knew nothing about Goei Bakeo's secret stash. At this moment, she, Lan Luofang, and the others had already been teleported outside. They had thought that 10 days had passed since the end of the trial and that the people from the 4 great families had already left. They had not expected that everyone was still here. When the people from the 4 great clans saw Yun Shujo and the others who had suddenly appeared, their faces were filled with astonishment. Weren't these people already dead? Why had they suddenly appeared? Moreover, the divine relic trial had already ended and the barrier had long been closed. How did they get out? Lan Dimeo was extremely happy. He had thought that the entire Lan family had been wiped out this time. He had not expected that they would all come out alive. This was great. A hint of joy appeared on old Tua's cold and hard face. He knew that the troublemaker would not die so easily. Lan Luohan and Lan Luoshan had a complicated look on their faces. There was panic, fear, and a hint of disbelief. Although Lan Dimeo was very curious, he was not stupid. Naturally, he would not ask anything in front of everyone. He only asked a few perfunctory questions. Great uncle, I remember that the 4 families need to have a competition, right? I wonder where our Lan family is ranked this time. Yun Shujo blinked her eyes and asked. Lan Dimeo looked a little dejected. Each of the 3 families got 4 pearls of delusion, while Luohan and Luoshan only got 1 pearl of delusion. However, this is not a big deal. As long as you guys come out safely. Other than slaughtering some wild beasts on the flat streets, Mu Zian and the others relied on sacrificing the lives of their companions to advance in the levitation layer. Therefore, there were not many wild pearls. Aya, what a coincidence. I still have 4 wild pearls here. Doesn't that mean that our Lan family is number 1? Hei Shinjo took out 4 wild pearls with a smile. Lan Dimeo was both surprised and happy. He had been ridiculed by the other 3 families many times in the past few days. Now, he could finally be proud. The people from the other 3 families were shocked when they saw this. Chi Tianhui snorted and said, Yun Shujo, 2 of the pearls were killed by the 4 families together. They are not yours. Yun Shujo shrugged. According to you, Lan Luoshan and Lan Luohan are also part of your pearls. Why didn't you share them with the Lan family? You're not strong enough yet, you're still acting shamelessly. Do you still have any shame? Chi Tianhui was so humiliated that he turned into anger. Bitch. You're courting death. TSK, you're so unreasonable that you scold people. Is that all you've got? I won't lower myself to your level. Anyway, the first place goes to our Lan family. It's useless even if you scold Patian, Yun Shujo said with a smile. This guy did not forget the blue ancestor's words, she not only to Lan Luofang and others out safely, but also to get the first place in order to complete the mission. Qi Ansheng saw that Qi Tianhui was annoyed by Yun Shujo, and his face instantly darkened. Just as he was about to make a move, Zhuang Ruhai, who was at the side, lowered his voice and said, "Brother Qi, the ranking of the divine relic trial does not involve the division of interests. It is just a matter of ranking. Let him be." Qi Anchang's face was vicious. "Brother Zhuang, we have 3 times more people than them. Why don't we just kill them?" Zhuang Ruhai shook his head. "That hunchback's strength is unfathomable. Do not act rashly. There is still time in the future. Sooner or later, the Lan family will belong to us." Qi Anqing snorted unwillingly. "Forget it. Let them play around for a few days. I don't know when this damn Earth Dragon reversal will end. I have really stayed in this damn place enough." You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.